Good evening and welcome to the Speaker's Corner UK channel. I'm here as always with my co-host, Stop Spamming. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
I hope everybody's well. Well, we're back with you tonight with a review of a couple of shorter videos. We normally do marathon reviews, as you're well aware of, where we break down long live streams and expose bad arguments and dishonest or disingenuous tactics by certain Muslim apologists. And what we thought we'd do tonight is two shorter videos and give our thoughts on what's being said by the Muslim fellows in these videos and why we might disagree and why they might have bad arguments. So the first one was brought up through StopS. So StopS, do you want to give us an overview of what we're going to be hearing?
Well, I was shocked when I saw this because, I mean, we all know Adam Saleh is not the brightest chap, okay? Like but he has a lot of followers because he plays pranks and people like watching these kind of things. I don't know who, but anyway, he does. And now than he was previously, because previously he was just running pranks which are not exactly Islamic. And now he's decided to be a Muslim. He's decided to become an apologist, but he doesn't have a clue of what is going on. So what I want to do is I want to show people, especially Muslims here, what is wrong with what he's doing. What is wrong when somebody, or what happens when somebody who doesn't know what the hell is going on comes on, makes statements that are really, really embarrassing. And this is the whole point that I'm trying to make. Please do not go public with things you do not understand. So this is like a really a classic example of what not to do. So what I thought we're going to do is we're just going to run through this a little bit step by step. It's only 5 minutes. He talks a lot, says very little, but so this is going to be just a quickie, just as an example. If anybody in the chat, hello, welcome everybody in the chat. Then if anybody wants to stop us, just type one enter. This catches our attention and then we can stop this. If anybody has a question, go ahead, ask it. We'll keep an eye on this. Otherwise, we'll just go through the video. Whenever you're ready, Rob.
All yours, sir. Welcome to everybody. Hope you enjoy it. I hope there's something we can all take away from it. Over to you, my good sir.
Really important to talk to you guys about. It is about why France is being canceled. I just want you all to...
Why France is being canceled. Can anybody explain to me what that means? France is being canceled. Now, what is quite funny is he's running around with this head thing, this headscarf, which is reminiscent of the PLO. Actually, what it is, it's an Arab winter headdress. Okay, but this was not done in winter. So I don't think he has any clue what he's doing there. And he's wearing it in a very funny way. So he doesn't really know what he's doing. So he's wearing something he doesn't understand just to somehow make a point. And then he says, France is cancelled? How do you cancel France?
I think he's referring to like cancel culture, the idea that when a person or people say things that some other either minority or majority of people find distasteful, they shouldn't be given a platform because, hey, free speech isn't really free speech and free speech isn't hate speech, whatever that's supposed to mean. It sounds like a nice little meme you can run off your tongue, but when you look under the surface, you find that there's nothing substantive holding it up. It's just hot air.
To know, hello, my name is Adam Saleh and I am a Muslim, and in Islam
I am Adam Saleh and I am a Muslim. How is that an identifier?
Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is our role model. He is our leader. Like, we look up to him. I look up to him. My dad looks up to him. My nephew Hamza looks up to him, who loves food, but he still looks up to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. My mom looks up to him. He means...
I don't know that any of these people have ever read the Quran, but I guess it depends what you mean look up, right? If you're going to cherry pick certain things, you can look up to the worst people in life. Even the worst people in life on occasions did good things. But if you're going to look up to him as the best possible prophet or person, then we would suggest that you actually read the Quran, because that might disabuse you of that idea. Although if you're committed to the idea and you don't think critically or won't think critically, then of course nothing can change your mind. But hopefully, if you are somebody who could think critically, then we'd direct you towards the Quran, and that would quickly disabuse you of Muhammad being the perfect example.
Well, there's hardly anything about Muhammad in the Quran. Muhammad is barely mentioned. He doesn't appear there. It's in the Sunnah where he comes alive, and these stories are horrific. I mean, how many times you see where he enslaves, where he tortures, where he beheads, where he rapes. There are so many things that are wrong with the figure of Muhammad that it's amazing. The thing is that a lot of the stories are everything is fabricated, but a lot of the stories contradict one another. So where some person says, well, he was good to his dog, then suddenly he says, well, kill all dogs, and all dogs were killed. So you have like huge discrepancies here, and none of the hadith make any real sense. I mean, dipping a fly in your drink doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't give you any guidance. It doesn't really do anything. It just makes you a target for derision. So you can only mock this. And if you're a person who believes that flying donkeys can be a thing, well, great for you. But I wouldn't call this a role model. You can't look up to a person whose only claim to... I mean, he was a pirate. How did he earn his living? Well, the first 40 years, apparently, according to the stories around him, he was a tradesman. He was a camel herder, driving caravans between different cities. But then what happened? He started robbing. He was a robber. He was a thief. That's all he did. So I don't know how you guys can look up to somebody, and how Adam Saleh looks up to a person who has been dead for over 1,000 years. Does he rape women? Does he keep slaves? Does he? I don't know. He doesn't do anything that Muhammad does. ISIS does, but not Adam Saleh. I think Adam Saleh is much better than Muhammad or his God. But here he pretends that everybody who is a Muslim has to look up to Muhammad. No, you don't. You look up to God and not to Muhammad.
Means so much to us. He is the founder of Islam. I'm sure
he is not the founder of Islam. Your God is the founder of Islam. Muhammad is just a parrot. He didn't know how to read and write. He didn't understand what he was saying. It was just that he was being fed sentences which he repeated. He didn't have any understanding. There's nothing that Muhammad said that really makes any sense. So I don't know what he's talking about.
the Muslims who are watching this know how forbidden it is to draw the Prophet, any Prophet.
Okay, can you show me any text, any Islamic text that says it is forbidden to draw Muhammad? You can't. This is all interpretation. This is all made up. This is all about not worshipping anybody but God. But what you are saying is you need to worship Muhammad. So what you are doing is going against Islamic principles. Now the whole idea is not to have any people or persons or any kind of a portrait of anything alive in a house, because you might just worship it. Because people were primitive and you had to be focused only on one thing, and that was God. So this Adam Saleh guy is like, really like, okay, I'm not allowed to say that he's stupid, but he's stupid. Really, he's stupid. He doesn't understand what he is doing. He is saying you need to focus on Muhammad because he wants to bring his point across. He doesn't like that somebody is holding up a picture of anything and says, well, this picture, the name of this picture is Muhammad. What does it have to do with you? Why do you even care? You do not know whether Muhammad existed. If he did exist, you don't even know what he looked like. And there are millions of people called Muhammad. So this can be any Muhammad. And there is no command to not draw a Muhammad anywhere in Islam. It's just the point is to avoid worshipping anybody but God. And if you take a picture of some guy, of the real Muhammad, which by the way exists, there are lots of pictures where people said this is what Muhammad looked like. But this is like saying this is what James Bond looks like. This is just a character in some stories. And that is, I don't know, this is so weak what this guy is doing. He doesn't understand Islam. He doesn't know the Quran. He doesn't understand anything. And then he says things like that, which are really, really ridiculous and which show how weak Islam is, that you need to say things like that. That they don't have the strength to say, well, so what? It doesn't matter. It's quite weird.
Yeah, I think also he's more of a cultural Muslim, a bit like cultural Christians, right? They've never really read the Bible. There's certain parts they've heard about. There's a few things that appeal to them. They also will repeat what they've heard or the pastor says or whatever, never really taking the time to think whether it's in fact the case or whatever the case is. So he strikes me very much as that sort of person, very young guy, and now feels like he can, I don't know, I've not watched his channel much apart from one or two pranks and stuff. Which isn't really my thing. But I think maybe now, because he's had hijab on the channel, he feels like he can talk more about this sort of stuff. But he's not even a layman. It's worse than that, right? And especially with 4 million odd subscribers. Somebody was asking why we're reviewing these guys, and I think you fancied it, but more because he's got so many followers, and it might be the case that we could reach some of those people who may well want to think critically and aren't potentially as brainwashed or as ignorant or whatever the case is.
Exactly.
And that's hopefully who we're attempting to reach. So, because he would never have StopS and I on his channel, even if he had his buddy with him, right? He'd have to have hijab or somebody else on there because he's pretty clueless about Islam. He'll repeat canards and so forth that he's heard from other people, but if we point to certain things, he won't have a clue what to do. So he wouldn't do it on its own. So we're not expecting for him to respond necessarily. And if he did, he'd have to have backup and help, and even that wouldn't really help him. He would just sit quietly and listen, right? But it's more a case of, can we reach those people? And he's representative of very likely quite a few Muslims, if not more than quite a few, who are on the same sort of position, who parrot back what they've heard, but have never thought about it. Probably haven't read the Quran, and those that have no clue what it actually says. They've just responded and learned it parrot fashion or heard about it, like I'd read the Bible. Didn't really understand it, didn't think of anything about it, just read it over as a story, basically.
Exactly. And this is the point that I'm always trying to make. Always ask this, and okay, I wanted to make this as a summary. Ask this guy questions. Ask him, okay, what do you know about Muhammad? Just ask him, how did he earn his living? How many wives did he have? How many slaves did he keep? How many people did he kill? How many people did he behead? How many caravans did he actually pillage? What percentage of the booty does he get according to the Quran? Can you believe? Why does can you believe it? A God tells his people, please go and loot as many things as you can and give me 20%, give me a share. I'm your God, so go ahead, do this, and then give me 20% of the booty. And 20% is for Muhammad. This is Islam. This is the Quran. Can you believe it? Ask this guy, why is it that Muhammad gets to just rob other people as a simple thief, take things that belongs to others, and then pass it on? Why does he, after a battle, go and decide, oh, I like this woman, she looks good, I want to have sex with her? And he says, well, I know that you wanted to bring this girl to somebody else who killed a lot of people today, but actually I fancy this girl, I want to give this guy another girl. This is Muhammad. And you're telling me you look up to this guy? And I'm not being, like I don't know, overly critical or anything. These are the stories that you get in the Hadith. This is the Sunnah. These are the stories that you read there. You can't always say, well, pick and choose. Well, I only pick the nice ones. Well, I'm only picking the negative ones. Now what? Does that even it out? Does it give you a reason to worship this guy? Wow. Okay, and this is what I'm trying to show people. What this Adam Saleh is doing is telling his subscribers, and there's a lot of Muslims in there, he's worshipped by Muslims, and I'm trying to get to them, show them a critical side so that they can also go back to Adam Saleh and say, look, these guys said something about you, you don't know this. Do you agree with this? Or do you have anything to say for yourself? Why did Muhammad do this? Why did he encourage his men to enjoy raping female captives? There are dozens of these authentic hadiths, according to Islamic scholars, who say exactly this, that Muhammad told his men, no, you don't need to pull out, stay in there, only Allah will decide. You can go, if you have decided to have sex with these female captives, go ahead and do it and enjoy it. asks Adam Saleh this question: why would Muhammad do that?
And to all the non-Muslims who are watching, I want you all to know also that us as Muslims, it is very disrespectful if you try to draw the Prophet Muhammad or any other prophet. They are
Okay, I have an issue here. I have freedom of expression. Why should I care that some guy in, I don't know, in Yemen or in I don't know where, Jakarta, whatever, feels or has hurt feelings because of something happening in France? I cannot, in my way of expressing myself, know that what I am saying is not being insulting or being taken as an insult in another country, in another place, somewhere on this planet. I cannot know that. So doing something here where I am allowed to do it is not something that I will go and consider and say, well, maybe somewhere in some corner, somebody doesn't like this. And it gets even worse if somebody tells me, you're not allowed to do that. Well, then I will definitely do it, just to make a point.
I think the other thing is, I don't know where he has the authority to speak for all other Muslims, because I've spoken to some Muslims. Okay, admittedly, not many of the hundreds that I've spoken to take the view, but there are at least a few of them that are not insulted. So as if you're speaking for everybody, I mean, what's your poll? What's your authority? You've got lots of followers. Are they all Muslim? Have you polled them? Are they all terribly insulted? And if so, why? How is it that you can establish some sort of objective criteria by which people get insulted? You know, StopS and I could take the view that we're insulted when we open the Quran and read the first two surahs. So, and what's to say that you shouldn't stop talking about it because we feel insulted? See, we can play the same game. You know, it gets nowhere, and it's self-defeating for you. You just don't realize it. And it's coming to you guys, if it hasn't already, it's coming to you guys as well, right? With some of the other people, be it LGBT or anybody else, right? Their lobbies are becoming stronger and stronger. And while they might be kind of seemingly on your side with limiting speech and no platforming people, eventually they will turn on you guys, and you will be in the same position where they will chase you from every particular point. You won't be able to open the Quran or say anything once they get their hooks into you, for example. So the same game can be played with anybody. You just think it's okay at the moment because nobody's turned on you. But any of us could do that. Obviously, we're of the view that we prefer to have open speech, but we could play your game to show you how it leads to absurdity. And whenever I do this with people, I hear vacuous response. There's nothing they can say back. I hear gobbledygook in response because there is no way to avoid this. You would have to give a criteria that means that it's only okay for you to be insulted and not for the rest of us. And nobody can do that and be intellectually honest.
Yes, yeah. And just to clarify, because we've got somebody here who's talking absolute nonsense, I've never said that I'm from Iran. I've lived in Iran, yes, and I've lived in a lot of Muslim majority countries, yes. But I've never been a Muslim, and I'm not from Iran. Just because I used to speak the language quite well, and I remember a couple of phrases now. I'm not an ex-Shia, I'm not an ex-Iranian, I'm none of those things. No, definitely not. So stop talking shit. Okay, the funny thing is, you're only addressing me as the person. You're not addressing the facts, you're not addressing the arguments, you're not addressing anything that I'm saying, you're not addressing the context, not the speech, but the speaker. Doesn't that tell you there's something wrong with you?
But that's often the case, right? You and I speak to hundreds of Muslims, and because they don't have anything substantial to say, it's always about you. And the fact that you visited or done other things in Iran, they build unsubstantiated bridges between that and all the other things they associate. But this is just the human intellect, right? This is just what humans generally do. We're at least some of us, if not more than some of us, we're irrational in some way, and we build bridges for which we don't have substantive reasons. Hey, if you were visited or came from Iran or whatever the case may be, then you must be X, Y, and Z without any substantiation of the case, right? I was speaking to the guys today about this, just a very quick story about this, because there was this American lawyer saying, don't speak to the police, right? The more you speak to the police, the more they can catch you out. And he said, I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to give you a story and I'm going to ask you questions afterwards and see how well you paid attention. And he told them the story about a gangland slaying. And he then went on to tell them why they shouldn't be talking about the police. About 10 minutes later, he said to him, okay, do you remember the story I told you? Right, I'm going to ask you a question now. How many people think that that there was one perpetrator involved, 2, 3, 4, 5 that were involved in killing this guy, with a firearm. And they all put their hands up, and he said, at no point did I say firearm. I said there was a gangland slaying, and you guys thought that there was a firearm involved. I never said that, right? It's the same sort of thing, right? You have it, and there's an inference that because you said X, it must mean Y, and the same thing here, right?
Yeah. It's amazing. It really is amazing. It shows you how fallible the brain really is. And it shows you how somebody like this, what's his, Abdel Hamid, how much hatred there is because he's so weak. He feels so threatened by every single thing. So as soon as I go and I question what a Muslim is saying, he says, I'm on the attack. I'm attacking a YouTuber. No, I'm not. I'm just taking what this guy is saying and just doing a critical analysis. That's what I'm doing. I'm not attacking
But I often
him.
ask the people, I do the same. StopS. I ask somebody, what is an attack, and what's the criteria for quote attack versus critique versus review, and why should I accept your criteria? And you know what I hear back?
Nothing.
Exactly that. A big silence, because none of them
There's nothing
can do this, but they
exactly.
can offer these words out vacuously in the hope that people will just gullibly accept them. But when you critique them, what is this attack, and how's that different from a critique, and why should I accept that? Provide your reasons and evidence. You just don't. And this is, of course, but it's a very good way. I say it's a very good filtering mechanism, because it filters people who might have an argument from those who don't, and can just throw out memes and like deepities or unsubstantiated claims, and those
Yeah.
people aren't obviously worth having an intellectual discussion with. They can't do it, so it's no point.
And look, he's now doing the same thing. So, I mean, he's saying, who is Adam Saleh? Is he representative of Islam? And this is exactly what we just said. So he is saying exactly the same thing. So is he attacking a YouTuber now? He doesn't know that. But he has so much hatred. He has so much hatred for those people who are non-Muslims who actually go and ask critical questions. It's then he says, it's not my religion, let alone hating every day. That's all you do, man. That's all you do. You just hate all the day. Oh my God.
But notice the difference as well, StopS, right? When we critique people, we'll critique what they say and we'll give our reasons. Now, people can disagree with our reasons, but we don't just say somebody's an idiot, somebody's an asshole, whatever the case is. And I tend to try not to do that. And if I do, I will have done it at the end of a long critique and go, okay, X, Y, and Z. And I think by that stage, I'm justified in saying X about this person's state of mind or argument or whatever the case is based on this critique. What we often get from people is just, you're this, you're that. There's no actual critique there. Hey, you said this wrong and here's why, so that we can review it and see whether in fact there was something we missed or we're wrong about. It's just, you're this, you're that. And that, obviously, we can't really take that seriously. That's just somebody's unsubstantiated opinion, and we just need to move on.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm being critiqued, okay, now I'm using this word again. I maintain that a position is something that you take and you can progress or whatever, you can change or move from there to something, but not believing something. Like if I'm a vegetarian, this is a position that I have. I don't like red meat. That's my position, okay? Because now I can even go and extend it and say, well, I'm not only going to be a vegetarian, I'm going to be a vegan. Okay, so this is what I mean for a position, but not believing something is not a position because you can't move from there. I mean, I'm splitting hairs, I know. And yes, I can say, yeah, it's a position because this is something that a stand that I am taking, that I don't believe this and things like, of course, but if I think about it, I object to this personally. I object to this being a position because it means that there is something that I need to move, that I need to do something that I'm rejecting, I'm not doing properly or things like, and that is why I object to this. So
Yeah, I think
you
it's
can
because
argue with this, yeah.
you see the negative word, the word position for you you don't like, you're uncomfortable or disagreeable with the word
Yes,
position.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you can take that view. I think to me, it's a position that it's a rational position. But I'm guessing it's like, so I sometimes hear people say, well, non-stamp collector is not a position. Well, the
Exactly.
corollary of that is a position, i.e., that I don't collect stamps or whatever the case is. That means that I'm not I do not collect stamps. So if somebody said to me, "Do you collect stamps?" I would say no. That to me is synonymous with non-stamp collecting. But I don't go out there saying, "Hey, I'm a non-stamp collector." Right? Come and speak to me about non-stamp collecting. That I don't do. But if somebody were to ask me, I'd say no, and then they would say, "Oh, so you're a non-stamp collector?" Then I suppose that would be synonymous with the me answering no to the question, and then they say, "Oh, why don't you collect it?" At that point, to me, it sounds. I would call that a position, but I see why you don't like it because of the. So I think the other way to do it is go, what do you believe? Because if you state what you do believe about X or Y or whatever the case is, then maybe that you might feel like it's a position rather than the negative, like the lack of belief thing, which I don't think either of us hold to. But the lack of belief, atheists don't think is a position. But okay, so what does that mean? So a theist would ask, and I hope a theist would ask, and I would ask, what do you believe? And then they might say, okay, well, I believe God does not exist, or I believe it's likely that God does not exist, or whatever. Okay, great. That's a position, because that's really what people want to know about you, not what you don't believe, but what you do believe. So when you do believe something, then it is a position. But the non-belief, we're looking for the corollary, or at least most people are looking for it. So maybe that's your objection is, and one way to state it is to state the opposite, if you want to, because at least that's a position. So I'll let you go for a few moments.
Okay.
They're just too holy. You can't draw them. You can't try and draw someone where you don't know how they look. It's just forbidden. Just don't, Anyone who does something like this is a piece of I'm not even cursing. I'm saying khara, piece of khara. This man right here, I'm pointing right here. This maricon right here, what's his name? Macron, he is the president of France, I believe. We ain't even gonna call him the president of France. We are gonna call him an Islamophobe. We're gonna call him a racist. And
yeah. Okay, this is too funny. We're not going to call him president, but this is the president of France. But we're not going to call him president. And he is X, Y, and Z, but he doesn't even know what these words are, because there is no such word as Islamophobe. Nobody knows what the contents is. You can tell me, everybody disagrees. Some people say, well, it is the critique of Islam or the hatred of Muslims or I don't know what. So, this is a nonsensical word. So to call somebody he is an Islamophobe is nonsense. Now, what did Macron actually do? Did he say anything about what he doesn't like or something about Islam? No. He just said two things. He says he is not going to interfere with the schooling system. He's not going to tell people what they are and what they are not allowed to say. And he says he has a problem with Islamism. Now, I don't know any Muslim who doesn't agree with that. I don't know any Muslim who says we need to tell every country in the world what they are allowed to teach in their schools. I don't think anyone does that. And I don't think that any Muslim is in any way interested in supporting Islamism. In other words, as the only allowed ideology wherever. And this is exactly what Adam Saleh is insinuating, where he's saying, well, he's an Islamophobe and he said something about Islam where he didn't. So Adam Saleh doesn't even understand what he is talking about. He doesn't even understand what Macron said. And I totally agree with what Macron said. I said I think we should not tell teachers how to and what to. They have their curriculum and how they bring this across. I'm not going to interfere with them. I'm not going to tell them you don't have free speech. I'm not going to tell them if you are teaching history, you can't talk about the freedoms, because I think freedom is the highest thing that we can have on this planet. I'm not going to limit their freedom, what they teach about history and free speech and the development of a country like France, where you also had witch burnings and things like that. And then it was only 300 years ago where they went into this enlightenment where they said, okay, we have this equality, fraternity. So this is different. And now to go and say, well, Macron is an asshole because he said something about not being wanting to be dominated by Islamism, that's perfectly understandable. And I totally agree with him, because that's just what I also don't want. So, oh. I hate it when that happens because just as when I'm trying to click on the mouse to continue with the video, the battery in the mouse is empty. Okay, guys, 3, 2, 1, 0. I changed the battery.
A douchebag, and oh my, your France has been getting away with being racist for too long.
Now he's saying racist. What race exactly is a Muslim? Is there a gene which makes you a Muslim, or what is he talking about? What is a racist? Racist is somebody who makes derogatory comments about somebody or about a group of people based on their race. Now the race is an ethnicity. What is the ethnicity of a Muslim? Do you, Adam Saleh, look the same way as a guy from, I don't know, Nigeria, the same way as a guy from Indonesia, the same way as a Muslim from Toronto, or the guy from the Muslim from Reykjavik or from Moscow or something? What are you talking about? There is no racism. It's just because you heard something that people don't like racism and they don't like being called racist because it's a terrible thing. That's why you think you can use this word even though you don't even understand what it is. This is how stupid it is. This is why I hate people talking about these things using words only for emotional impact. He's only trying to create a point where this is just feeding his own ego, where he says, my followers will see me as the hero, that I'm taking a stand against Macron and I'm insulting him. The funny thing is, you are allowed to insult Macron, really insult him, calling him an asshole. And yet, if I draw a picture, just a random picture of a face, or even a stick figure, and I put Muhammad underneath, you think it's justified to kill someone for holding up a picture, a drawing of a stick finger? You think it's okay to kill someone for that? Are you fucking insane?
Way too long. This idiot right here disrespected our prophet.
Okay, let me just say something. Respect. Respect is towards a person. It cannot be demanded, it can only be earned. So you cannot respect a religion. I don't respect you because I think you're an idiot. You're a clown. You don't know what you're talking about, and this is why I don't respect you. Now, if you were to go and say, look, okay, I was wrong and blah, 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 that would then increase my respect to you if you were to admit a mistake. But at the moment, I don't respect you. Can I respect Muhammad? No. Can I respect any person who is dead? No. I can admire them, I can appreciate them, I can look at their achievements. Those things I can look at, but I don't respect them.
Don't you ever in your life disrespect my prophet again. You think you were going to do nothing?
Hang on, if I disrespect, I don't know what that is, somebody else, why would you feel so emotional about something I'm doing about somebody else? Now, you are insulting, you are telling Macron he's an idiot. Do I now go apeshit and I call you an asshole because you insulted or you called Macron an idiot? No. I'm looking at you. I'm looking what you are saying, what you are telling us, what you are bringing up here, and I criticize you for that. But I don't go now to somebody else and say, yeah, but he said this about Macron, and therefore now all Muslims have to suffer for this. That's crazy.
Nothing about it, Majid. Like, I'm looking at Job. I need to calm down, man. I already beat up a pumpkin, man. Oh.
This is just acting. What? He loves doing this. He does this in all his videos where he goes around and punches the air.
Did he say he beat up a pumpkin?
Yeah, he likes to be like the tough guy.
Yeah, but you can see what's happening here, right? As well. Maybe there's a bit of show here, but he's. That's what I always say to people, right? When you get emotional like this, somebody else is pushing your buttons. They're in control of you. And once people realize this, if there's some people that like to do that, they can control you. They'll push your buttons. They will get you emotional. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm fairly good at it now. It's much more difficult to push my buttons because I realize that no matter what somebody says, it's how I respond, what I take from it, because it's just an utterance of some words. it's really just sounds in the air that I've taken a meaning for, and then, had an emotional response based on the meaning that I've attached to those utterances.
Yeah, exactly.
And but people like this, unfortunately, don't realize this. They've bought into the whole thing, and they've probably been inculcated to believe this as well. So he's jumping around there like he's got ants in his pants because somebody said something about, if I understand it correctly, that obviously France was talking about putting those cartoons on the buildings and saying we're having free speech and stuff. And because somebody else drew the cartoon, somehow Macron is criticizing the Prophet, presumably because he allowed the cartoons on there, therefore he's criticizing. And this is the sort of, illogical bridge that people like this build. And then they respond like this, almost like, children in a sense, or animals that are on a leash, that are trying to pull free of a leash, but don't know how.
But this is just, you see, I'm getting angry for Islam. I'm doing something. I'm running around. I'm punching the air.
Oh my God. Oh, you could. All right, guys. So I'm gonna talk to.
Sorry.
It's theatrical as well, right? And it also, he's playing up to his Muslim audience because, hey, he's demonstrating some of the frustration that potentially they feel, so they're going to connect with him more. There's that part of it as well. There's a bit of psychology involved there. Not that he's probably aware of that in that way, but that's possibly going on as well.
Yeah, but Rob, the only thing that I see is like a little boy throwing a temper tantrum. That's all. Mummy, I want the lollipop.
To you guys calmly, but I'm gonna need you guys to listen. So this picture right here, as you guys can see, it is blurred out, but it's blurred out for a reason. The reason why it's blurred, it's because it's a cartoon of the Prophet. That pic.
This shows his incompetence. Okay, he had this idea. I'm going to put a picture there, like what he did with Macron, and he says, okay, this is now the picture. I'm going to blur it. And then he was probably told, brother, don't do that. And he didn't. So the whole concept shows his incompetence, where he doesn't even know what he's doing. And now we have a non-blurred picture.
Picture is everywhere around government buildings in France while there's police protecting this picture that's disrespecting our.
I can't hear anything now.
Allah's gonna punish you, man.
For everybody in the chat, just type 1 if it's coming through clearly and the video is playing properly, and 2 if there's any garbled or if the video is lagging or anything. It is for me, but it may just be a bad connection on my side.
And Allah's gonna punish you, France. France, I've been there before. Shout out to all my Muslims in France. It's all good. Sometimes as Muslims, we deal with it here in America, but France, man, you guys have been getting away with so much racist, Islamophobic stuff for way too long, and it's time for me to speak up because I feel like any Muslim creator, any Muslim who's known or has a platform, they should spread awareness to stuff like this. I feel like me, for myself, where I am today, I feel like I have a responsibility, and it is to always spread awareness on issues that I feel like the media isn't talking about. Do not let Donald Trump or Joe Biden distract you from the fact that the president of France is doing this and making fun of our prophet. This freaking idiot is saying that what he's doing with the cartoons and making fun of the prophet of Islam, that it's freedom of speech.
He'd shown cartoons of Prophet Muhammad during a lesson he was giving on free speech.
Nous ne renoncerons pas aux caricatures.
Just going to rejoin StopS. This is complete garble to me. I don't know if it's my earphones or something. I'll be back in 1 second.
Même si d'autres reculent.
Freedom, oh my God, ya Allah, freedom of speech. This is what all the Karens say, man. This is what all the people have no comment, like, how is freedom of speech going to the point where you're giving yourself freedom of belittling a religion? Like,
That is exactly what free speech is, that you can say whatever you want. It's just speech. I'm not beheading anyone. I'm not killing anyone. I'm not torturing anyone. I'm not raping anyone. I'm just saying something. I'm just talking about Islamism. I'm just talking about things. If you cannot respond and you need to be violent, that's a totally different, kettle of fish or whatever you want to call it. This is exactly the problem. Freedom of speech, freedom in general, is the highest thing on this planet. Freedom of speech is one of the cornerstones of democracy. That is where our civilization has been going to for the last, 50,000 years, to have this freedom. And now what you want is special pleading. Yes, you're allowed to say what you want. You can criticize Christians, Jews, Hindus, Zoroastrians, whatever, but not Muslims, not Muhammad. Well, China doesn't work that way. We're gonna look, we're gonna scrutinize, we're gonna investigate, we're gonna research, and then we are going to report our findings. And that is what we're doing.
Makes no. I want to give you a lot. Let me not.
Yeah, you only have violence. You don't have an intellectual capability to address this. You cannot have a civilized discussion. You only have violence. You only want to beat and punch and behead and things. That's all that you want to do. But that's not the only reaction. There are other ways of settling a dispute or any kind of a grievance or a difference of opinion. There are other ways of doing that. And our civilization, humanity in general today, has achieved that. You have not. Your reaction is punching and violence. And the reaction of this guy was to cut off the head of the teacher who was teaching children about freedom of speech, about the history of France. And your only reaction is violence.
Not make too much noise, man. My mom's sleeping upstairs. She gonna slap the crap out of me, man. And do me, gang, once this happened and everyone was spreading awareness about what France is doing, the president of France is doing, everyone started boycotting French.
Now, what they are doing is they're just leading their lives. They are minding their own business. If you now suddenly come in there and you say, well, they're not allowed to do that, that is your problem. Now, Islam is part of our planet. Muhammad is part of the narrative, and that is why we need to go and talk about this. We need to address this. We need to look at this and then talk about this. And you cannot stop us from doing that just because we have a different opinion, just because we're more objective than you are.
Products, because
And
if you
also,
do that, France.
He's claiming that everybody started boycotting. Where's the information? It's this sort of
nonsense.
vacuous statements. A few people have called for a boycott, and maybe one country here or there. That equate to everybody. I mean, it's this sort of stuff that sounds good to gullible ears, but anybody who's paying attention is just that these are completely unsubstantiated. In fact, demonstrably incorrect statements. And if you're going to claim that one or two people represents everybody, that's a black hole fallacy that you'll just never recover from. So, again, we've just got to take that this is rhetoric. This is an emotional young boy who's, chosen to feel insulted by something that he doesn't have any good reason to feel insulted for, and doesn't really know why, other than somebody told him it's bad. But he hasn't researched, doesn't know much more about it. But it's very easy to get outraged because it's just like a simple, emotion to invoke. When you ask why and what's the basis for this, he wouldn't have much to say.
And the other thing is, I was going to bring this up later, but let me do this now. Somebody has gone and done the maths and looked at what the damage actually is. Now, are they going to boycott French wine or French kissing, or what is it that they're going to boycott? Now, the funny thing is, France is giving out more aid to Muslim countries than what they are selling to those countries. And already France is saying, yeah, but Bangladesh, you are now saying we are the assholes and we should be boycotted and this should stop. Well, then we're going to stop the aid to Bangladesh. And now all of a sudden, they're in deep shit because France was substantially contributing to the welfare of Muslims in Bangladesh. And the total damage is just a couple of million, or I think the maximum somebody came up with 2 billion. Now, if you look at the total economy of I don't know, 2,000 or 200, I can't remember what it was. I mean, it's negligible. So even if every single Muslim, even if every single country would now boycott France, they would hardly feel it. And the thing is, what most people don't understand, and this Adam Saleh is too much of an idiot to actually understand this, we are talking about consumer goods, like French wine, French cheese, French grapes, French cauliflower, and things like this. Oh, okay, did Harris Sultan make this? Okay, brilliant. This Adam Saleh is totally incapable of understanding what he's talking about. We're talking about consumer goods. The most that France is exporting is, for example, aeroplanes, cars, machinery, things like that, like fighter jets and things like all sorts of stuff, and not consumer goods. So that is a tiny fraction of what they are exporting to other countries. And from this, a tiny fraction is going into Muslim countries. So what you guys are doing is you're just a joke. You're making a fool of yourself, just like this guy is making a fool of himself, standing there punching holes in the air and saying, oh, I feel like punching a pumpkin or something because I'm so bad that France is not going to live according to my rules. Well, Charlie, it doesn't work that way. My goodness.
As a country is going to lose money. And to you, Macron, to you, if you think you can disrespect and offend 1.5 billion Muslims all around the world and just get away with it, man, you thought wrong. You would, Ya Allah. Allah is going to punish you, and he already did. The Muslim boycott in France already lost them 28.
Now, where did he get this nonsense from, right?
Now, the funny thing is, I checked this, and this is from a Twitter account. Somebody just made it up. This is the funniest thing. This guy is so foolish, it's unbelievable.
$1 billion in the first day. In the first day!
In the first day. Now multiply that by 300 and you have just got the entire economy of France. So that after 1 year, economy in France has totally gone to zero. France has gone bankrupt. There's no money left in France because a couple of Muslims are not selling French wine or not buying French wine. My goodness, you guys, you are so silly. But he is, look at him. He is like a little child, really. Like a little boy who can't control himself and is like stomping his feet.
Oh my God! Oh.
And he's playing music. I think a lot of Muslims are going to object to him playing music. Notice that here it's 28 billion in just the first day.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense.
By the way, one thing I need to point out, and I always point this out, and I love pointing it out. The OIC is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Okay, so these are all the Islamic member states, 56 countries. The total combined GDP of all 56 Islamic countries is less than a non-Muslim country like the US. One country has a higher GDP than all OIC, all 56 countries combined. And yes, it includes Qatar, it includes Saudi Arabia, it includes Iran, it includes all these people with all the oil, with the gas and everything that they're selling. So it's hilarious what this guy is doing. Nobody can take him seriously or take this for real.
Now France is begging Arab countries to stop boycotting their products. As I said, if you think you can mock our prophet and get away with it, you thought wrong, man. Allahu Akbar, God is the greatest. I need every single one of you guys who are watching this video to share this video, raise awareness, and boycott French products. These are the products. My name is Adam Saleh. I love my prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him.
By the way, I don't know if you notice, if you go and look at this, where was this with the products? Here, like if you take Elf, this is a petrol company. Where are they getting their oil from? Oh my God, this is so
These are the
funny.
products. My name is Adam Saleh. I love my prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. We do not mess with mockery, as you guys know. And then Allah does the work. We don't got to do the work. Allah does the work. Alhamdulillah. The Doomy gang. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Stop there for a sec. If
No,
he's
I
doing
can
the
stop
work,
this.
then you
This is
don't
the
need to
end.
boycott anything, right?
Exactly.
You'll just leave it to the wisdom of Allah. You actually don't have to do anything. In fact, you could encourage France to keep doing it because you know Allah's doing the work. So it's like a contradictory state. Hey guys, we need to boycott it, but Allah's doing the work. I mean, okay, I know he's a young guy and thinking is not his strong point, But again, like something so blatantly obvious. I mean, so again, I don't think, apart from hopefully, if you were to speak to somebody like that, appealing to a lot of his followers, or at least appealing to some of them potentially, because he's simply a sounding board. Like you could speak against a wall and it could reflect your voice back to you, and you probably have a high level conversation with yourself or the wall. But as you say, it's probably the idea is there to see if people who are listening might be open to hearing some critique, because he's not really going to have anything substantial to say, as we've heard here. So I guess that's part of the reason. It's not to say that he's a particularly knowledgeable, intelligent, or thoughtful Muslim, but he's got a bigger following, and that's the point really, is to see if there's some attention that can come there, such that his followers might hear some different points of view and look at things differently. But who knows?
Okay. Oh my God, this was nearly an hour for 5 minutes. I can't believe it. But this is so silly. This is so silly. But for me, it was important to get out that maybe there are some Muslims among, really, is it 4 million? 4 million subscribers. Wow. Okay, that there are some Muslims amongst these 4 million, who will say, oh wow, somebody's made a video about Adam, let's take a look at it. That they think, why are they laughing about our hero? How come? Let me see what it is they have to see. Oh, really? So this doesn't make sense, what he's saying? Oh, let me go and check this. What is the number 28 billion? Where does he come? Ah, okay. So this is just a Twitter account. Somebody's making it up. Interesting. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that. That was obviously a shorter one, although it ran longer, as you guys know. I think StopS had plenty to say on that one, which was cool. So what we're going to do now, somebody sent us a video. This is going to be another relatively short one for 6 minutes. I'm not sure we're going to need an hour for that. So we'll do another one. And then after that, anybody who wants to come and have a chat with us, you're welcome to do so on Discord. If we can post a Discord link, TDS Dave, I don't know if you got it. If not, we can get that. And then we can go and have a chat on, what do you call it? Discord. So I'll post the link here. Hopefully this link is still working. Just tell me.
I'm very tempted to use this avatar, but I know that some Muslims will not like it. This is a random guy. It's just some picture, a drawn picture of something, and Muslims think that this is Muhammad for some reason. Don't know why.
Yeah. All right. So here we go with this one. So the title of this one
this one is nice. Yes.
The title for this one is Muslim Teaches Atheist a Life Lesson. So let's see if our good friend Imran here has got anything useful to teach the atheists. So
I don't know if people know that I have a long history with Imran Hussein. I've actually talked to him on a chat that they used to have, which was similar to the Gin and Tonic, because they wanted to have some competition to the Gin and Tonic show. So they came up with this thing that they were going to have a chat, and I actually talked to him because I wanted to tell him what an atheist actually is, because he couldn't understand that. Now, he then came up with the London Dawah movement, and I made refutation videos as soon as they came out. So I completely, single-handedly destroyed the complete channel, because as soon as it came out, people were then rather waiting for my videos to see the refutation of what it is that they were showing. Then they stopped, they went into our era, they became part of our era, and then they were called the GDM, the Global Dawah Movement. So I did the same thing, and then in the end they stopped, and now he's just occasionally popping up. So I have a long history with this guy, and he still doesn't understand what an atheist is, so it's quite funny.
Alrighty, here we go.
Okay, what's your position? Do you believe there is a creator?
I believe there could be, but I don't see any empirical evidence and nothing to prove me otherwise.
Why do you assume there has to be empirical evidence for everything?
Because otherwise it's irrational.
Do you have parents?
Hold on. Do you have parents? You are blind. Yeah?
Okay, so I think the atheist fellow, we're going to go with the parents thing, but we'll get to that in a minute. I think the atheist there probably, unless he's a physicalist, I think I'm not of the view, and there are people that are, that the only evidence would be physical evidence, i.e. something that, is available through the scientific method. I'm not of that view, but I know that there are at least a few people, if not more than a few, that do take the position. I was speaking to somebody, I think yesterday actually, that said they were a physicalist, and I think somebody like T-Jump is a physicalist, and a few others. I'm not sure that that's such a well subscribed view, and I have heard, but I can't articulate it right now, some objections against physicalism. So I think it's quite a strong, and it's a subdivision of naturalism, but it's quite a strong claim to make, and it's there are some, I think, as I understand it, some strong critiques against physicalism. So I think, it's not the case that science is the only method, or that physical events are the only method, because something could be an event that might not be physical. Is energy physical, for example? And again, I'm not as familiar with all of the deep, nuanced ones here. So I think what he did here was maybe potentially overreach a little bit by saying that only physical things. Now, if that is his view, great, then he really needs to know how to defend that. But I think what we're going to hear from Imran here is the typical Muslim response of, do you have parents? Do you know your father's your father? And all that sort of stuff. We're going to let that run. StopS, if you want to jump in, you can. But then we're going to show why this is probably one of the worst responses that a Muslim could give. And hopefully after this, any Muslim who's listening would never bring this up again. But we'll see whether that, hopefully I can articulate why this is just, if you want to respond, that's fine. Just don't bring up this analogy. It's absolutely terrible.
I don't think I need to jump in here because I think you're capable of doing that. I'm just laughing about Jordan M. Kudos that he comes here. The funny thing is he's been running away from us. He challenged us and then we said yes, and he's been running ever since. And now he's here making funny things. Like he says, send me a photo of your mother, which I will use as just a picture. Well, number one, yes, I can do that. I don't have a problem with that at all. Why would I? The second thing is, my mother never claimed to be a prophet. My mother never made any kind of claims that Muhammad made. And the thing is, my mother is real. Muhammad is not. Muhammad is just a character in a book from 1,000 years ago. My mother is not. My mother is real. She's alive. She exists. She's here. She is a real person. And that is a huge difference to what you are doing about a character from a book. It's like if I draw a picture of Cinderella, are you going to get angry with that as well? You need to think a bit, Jordan. I mean, come on, you've got a brain. Why don't you use it?
Welcome to the show, or welcome listening, Jordan. If you want to join us and you can give your perspective on this critique or any other view, then we're more than welcome to have it. I know you guys don't want to have us on, but as opposed to you guys, we'll have anybody on, any Muslim in particular that wants to have it, and we'll do our best to have a decent conversation. Sometimes StopS can be a little short-tempered, but I'm sure he'll be as good as he can be. So you're more than welcome. The invite is out. I'll post the link, and you're welcome to join us. Even though you would prefer not to have us on, you're more than welcome to come and join us here. If you have any thoughts or anything that you want to say, and particularly if you think that you want to input into this video, or as I say, something else there, then the offer is open to you. Let's continue with this on now, and we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, and I just turned around and told you that the sky was green. Would you believe me?
Okay, listen. Do you have parents?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe your parents are your parents?
To the best of my degree, yes.
Okay. Have you ever
without a DNA test, I can't be sure.
So till this day, how old are you?
30.
You're 30 years old and you don't know if your parents are your parents till this day?
No.
Have you done a DNA test?
Okay, let's just quickly stop here for a moment, okay? Because he'll run it a little bit further, and then we'll sort of put the nail in the coffin at the end. But at this stage, there's an equivocation going on here. Because the immediate thing I would ask is, what do you mean by no? If no is justified true belief, or in my case, reliably produced true belief, I can give you what I think is justifications for believing my parents or my people, and I will lay out a series of reasons or arguments or evidence for why my parents are my parents. And if you say to me, are you epistemically certain, because that's what they mean when they say certain, then I would have to say no. But I would respond to him, what are you epistemically certain about? So if that is your yardstick, then you're shooting yourself on both feet, and you will be crawling metaphorically in this discussion any further forward. So evidence, when you say I don't know, I would respond, yes, I do know, and here's what I mean by no, and here is the justification for no, as opposed to believe. Now, if you want to critique that, you can, but Imran, I'm going to hold you to the same standard about how you know anything as well. So whatever you're going to critique me for, I'm going to hold you to that standard. Are you ready to do that? So I think, if somebody says, hey, I believe it, or whatever the case is, or they know it, they can do that. But then he suddenly says, oh, well, you don't know. And this is where you've got to be quite careful with these guys. You've got to immediately ask them when you're not sure, or don't take it for granted that you're both saying the same thing, or you both understand the word to mean the same thing, like no and so forth. What does Imran mean by the word no? Oh, I just mean, do you believe it without any? He might think that no is, well, you can't be mistaken about it. No. Where's that definition? Please explain to me where that came up from, or is that your own personal one? And if it is, are we going to use that for you as well? And so I think Jordan wants to join us there. So let me post the link there. You're more than welcome to join us. StopS, take it easy.
No, I'm easy. I'm just looking for a photo of my mother, but I can't find one where I just have a photo only of her.
Okay. Ideally, Jordan, we would like to have it about the video. If you want to talk about something else to some degree, we can do that. There we go. No, so this is here on StreamYard. So Discord is after this, Jordan. So we can talk on Discord after this video. But if you want to come on here live now, you can. Discord is not recorded. This is obviously recorded on my channel. So you're more than welcome. There's the StreamYard link just above, and you can come and join there. So yeah, I think with this sort of thing, you've got to be careful with certain words. And I'm kind of fine-tuned to when I'm hearing some guys saying certain things. I'm going to ask them, what do you mean by X? Good. So, okay. So Jordan has joined us. Good evening, Jordan.
Can you guys hear me?
We can indeed.
Yep.
Cool.
How are you, sir?
Not bad. Yeah, I was interested. Apparently I'm running from you guys. I'd like to, what's that about?
Or maybe you and StopS can have that quick discussion if you like.
Yeah.
If you want to critique the video afterwards, we can do that. Go ahead.
All right.
We were talking on a stream, and you said, I challenge you to this and this, to make this up and to explain this. And I said, okay. Rob said, okay. And then a couple of times I asked you, okay, are we still having this? Are we still having this? And this was a couple of months ago, and you're still running away.
So we had a chat on, I think, Sir Faz panel on misogyny. And I guess it was a fairly long chat. And then I think maybe Hamza had a sister who wanted to come on or something, wasn't it? But I don't know, to say we're running away, or, I mean, you're not exactly Big Fry, are you? I don't really understand. Yeah.
Well, then you don't have any reason to run away, do you?
Well, I don't particularly have much reason to even come and join you either, do I? You haven't exactly got a massive channel or anything, but I popped past today, and obviously I've seen the picture of, you've got the picture of the Muhammad, peace be upon him, on your thing. So I thought, to be consistent, let's see if you would allow me to have your mother on mine. And I think that's a fair comparison, I think.
Who has a picture of what, Mohammed?
You had a photo. I think did you have a photo of the Charlie Hebdo thing on your?
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Is that a picture of Mohammed?
You tell me, what is that a picture of?
I don't know. This is some guy.
Oh my God! And you're sincere, are you?
This is a picture of some guy. Do you know that what Mohammed looked like? Is that what Mohammed looked like?
I have no idea, but I recognize that.
Exactly.
I recognize that as a Charlie Hebdo picture that was drawn. Is that what it is?
Yes, it's a cartoon.
So exactly. So let's try and
Jordan,
have a little bit of integrity about you.
Jordan, can I ask you something? If somebody drew a cartoon of your mom's face, or my mom's face, or StopS family's, would you be offended by that?
Yeah, I think I would.
Why?
If you had a photo of my mum and just had it as your profile.
No, not a photo, cartoon. Why would you be offended of a cartoon?
If you drew a sort of a mocking photo of my mum with big eyes and I don't know, let's say some. Yeah, I would. I'd find it offensive. Would I act upon it? No, I'd probably just think these guys.
No, I'm not asking why you act. I'm just interested in your thought process as to why you would find a cartoon that doesn't accurately represent your mom, or my mom for that. And let's use my mom, for example, rather than yours. Why would one find that offensive? It's somebody who's potentially making a joke, or doesn't actually know what yours or my or anybody else's mom necessarily looks like, and it's just something. I'm just curious why you would be offended by that. What's the thought process behind that?
To be honest, firstly, I just wouldn't do something like that, because I guess I've got a bit of integrity about me. I don't go around doing that kind of vile stuff. But if someone was to do it to me, and to be honest, I've had people do things to my family online, and do I find it offensive? Yes. We'll stick to your cartoon analogy. So if someone were to draw a cartoon of my mum, I think Would I just think, oh, this is cool, that's their freedom of speech? No. Could I do anything legally about it? No. Would I be offended? Yeah, of course I would.
But why though? That's what I'm asking. I know we can't do anything legally, and neither should we. But I'm asking why you would be offended by it. What is it about that gives you a negative response?
Yeah, that's quite easy to answer. I think because my mother would be one of the most important people in my life. The thought of somebody mocking her publicly would be, I would have a lot of pride about me. I would have a lot of, and that would be offensive, and I'd be confused as to why someone was doing that. Naturally, look, I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. I'm a human being. So you can offend me. I think that I have a pretty good control of my emotions and stuff. But yeah, if you could offend me by abusing my family online, sure.
Okay, hang on a sec. So you used a lot of those words. You may or may not be aware that somebody wished that my wife and daughter were raped and killed in South Africa once, right? Live on a stream.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't wish that of anybody, but
were you offended? Were you offended?
Wasn't offended. No, I wasn't offended for a couple of reasons, Jordan. One, offense is taken, not given. So even if somebody, let me ask you, put it this way: if somebody intends to offend you, but you are not offended, has offense taken place?
But like I said, Rob, I know what you're saying. I know where you're going with this, but we're human beings. So I'm pretty sure you have buttons, Rob. You're not a robot. I'm pretty sure. I could probably,
but what I
could probably say no. But you're saying that offence is taken. Correct. I'm pretty sure I could probably say things here about your kids or your mum, which I never would. And let's say some of them might be true. There might be personal things that nobody knows. I'm pretty sure you would naturally take offence to them. Now, are you an intelligent guy that could probably say, "All right, I'm not going to react to this. Jordan's being childish." That probably would be your action. But are you offended? Yes, you will be. And I don't believe you if you say you're not.
Well, how are you sure that I would be? But let's assume, using your analogy, that in fact I was. Here's my view, and you tell me why you think I'm mistaken. All I'm going to go is, that's my responsibility. Why did I allow somebody to give me a negative emotion about those people? Yes, I love them. Is what they said true? If it is true, then I accept it as being true. If it isn't true, they don't know what they're talking about. But why should I have a negative view on that? Because what happens is I'm allowing them to push my buttons. So why would I allow somebody else to have control over me when I love my family, as I'm sure you love yours? And why would I allow somebody to, quote, offend me? Because offense is my choice, not theirs.
Agreed. And you know what? In an ideal world, you'd be right. In an ideal world, wouldn't it be great for us all to be like that? Unfortunately, we live in a real world. We're human beings. We're flawed. Now, us on this panel, we actually may be better than most people. We may say we're above average, but there will be people out there that do take offence. And I'm pretty sure, Rob, if I was walking up the road and you were walking with your mum or kids, if I was to just suddenly start abusing them in front of you verbally, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be standing there going, "I'm not taking any offence to this. I'm not taking any offence. I'm just going to walk on with my family." I'm pretty sure you would probably have grounds to maybe physically even try and stop me. Even by the law, you would probably be protected, because even the law understands we're not robots.
No. Well, the law doesn't. I mean, if that happened,
what's a crime of passion? What's a crime of passion?
Say again.
What's a crime of passion?
I don't believe that a crime of passion is innocent anyway. So if I was judging, but using your example, if somebody, whatever you mean by abuse, presumably shouted obscenities, and I said to the family, "Let's walk on, that person's ill or that person's crazy. Look, there's going to be, hey, wife and children, there's going to be people like this in life." Now, what you can do is you can immediately start to feel all negative and etc. Or you can recognize that person is sad, they're in fear, whatever the case is. They don't know you. Let's move on. Now, if the person continued following me and it became harassment, well, that's a different story. Now I probably would intervene physically.
Yeah. And do you believe, Rob, everyone has the ability to be like that in this world? Do you believe that's realistic?
Jordan, what I am striving for is the world where people strive towards that. And you're saying, well, hey, yes, that's a nice thing to have in principle, but you know what? We're not even going to attempt to strive there, because we've got all this low-hanging fruit. So we've got to ensure that we aim low because of this low-hanging fruit. And I'm saying,
Rob,
no, Jordan.
If it was up to me, everyone would have a job and no one would be on benefits. We live in a society where
should we strive for that, Jordan?
We should strive for it, but we should also make precautions for the weaker in society. I do believe that, and Islam is heavy on that.
When you say make precautions, though, Jordan, when you say make precautions, what you mean is, hey, let's not quote unquote potentially offend the lowest hanging fruit in the society because they might get angry. And I'm saying, no, Jordan, let's help them recognize that they don't have to be angry. Let's educate them so they become higher hanging fruit, and we strive towards the highest level.
Yeah.
And we educate people not to be offended. And those that are, we point it out, we try and help educate them to the best of our ability. And otherwise, if they continue like that, we have to separate them from society because they're a danger, A, to themselves, and B, to the rest of us.
Okay, so would you have a society where, and look, to me, I want a civilized society. You know, I don't want to live in a society where people are going around ripping up people's scriptures or mocking people. Or let's not say, because I think we need to obviously draw the line somewhere, and even the Lord draws a line somewhere. You know, you couldn't, for example, you couldn't deny the Holocaust, and in fact, you can't. You wouldn't.
Sure, you can, and you should be allowed to.
But you can't in some countries, can you? So
I know, and I condemn those countries for that. So you're not bringing an argument against my position. You just show me that there's other countries that are in a bad position, like some Muslims are. That's not a good argument in favor of.
I didn't use it as an argument, and I understand your point of view. What you're saying is you want this ideal world where, for example, people can go around using the N-word. And then no one's ever going to react. Unfortunately, that world is never going to exist. You know, the black people have gone for a certain history, and I live in I care about the people in society, and I do. You know, I think that there has to be limits. There has to be limits. Yes.
I'm questioning whether you actually do care about people in society. I think I care more about them than you do because I want to uplift them, and one way to do that is to educate them and to recognize and to tell them that the world is not going to be this idyllic place that's going to tiptoe around people on eggshells because some people might react emotionally. No, those people need to be educated and assisted and helped so that they don't have to, they can have control of their own lives, and other people don't need to tiptoe. And number three, Jordan, those people that we can then, they can expose themselves, right? So there's everything on this is positive as far as I can see in my favor, and nothing in favor of yours.
No, but what I'm saying is, and you know, wouldn't it be lovely if it was achievable? What you're saying, wouldn't it be lovely if that no one would take offence to anything? I mean, I guess I would argue. I mean, look, I've gone on to the low hanging fruit in society, and I use that as an example. But I think, look, even to me and you, Rob, we will take offence to some things, and I think I'm not necessarily even arguing for things to be against the law and stuff, but I think, for example, let's take the Speaker's Corner Hatun incident. I think it should be socially unacceptable to do what she's doing. I think others should step in and say, actually, that's not actually right what you're doing. And I actually believe, for example, Rob, I believe if I was to eat a poppy in Speaker's Corner, I reckon people would not support my freedom of speech. People would actually. Well, you say you would. I'm not sure because here's the thing as well that I would make the argument is that Muslims, and I do believe there's some racism behind this. Muslims are not allowed to react. Muslims are supposed to just take it on the chin. Whereas you look at examples of plenty others, and I would use the poppy, and I could come up with others as well. Even maybe Tan when he came to the park and started talking about other people. There was a collective sort of move to remove him out of the park. But with the Muslims, it's fine. And same with you guys. I've you know. StopS has got a photo of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Well, it's not. It's obviously the Charlie Hebdo thing. But I bet you guys have never made any example outside of Islam of this freedom of speech. Let's see you push it with. Let's see StopS put something on the Holocaust on his profile picture.
How do you think we could do that tomorrow?
Where's the problem for that?
No,
why are you making this into a personal thing? This is not Muhammad. This is not Muhammad. Muhammad did not exist. Okay. The Holocaust
Rob, I think
did.
we better stick. I think he's
So we could put something on the Holocaust tomorrow. Or what difference does it make, Jordan? Your argument seems to be.
Where's your problem?
That hey, we're only quote unquote, or some of us are only quote unquote offending, if that's even possible, which is contentious. We're only offending Muslims and we don't offend somebody else. Look, I speak to Christians and other people as well, but we normally focus on Islam because I think the religion is untrue and some Muslims are particularly brainwashed by it more so than others. And so that's my focus, but I could do, the principle applies across the board. And like I say, you haven't brought anything against my position of striving for a society where people are not offended. You keep saying, your response is, well, hey, wouldn't it be nice? And I'm agreeing it would be nice. And I'm striving towards that. You're saying, well, it would be nice, but it's not possible. So instead of that, let's go the opposite direction and make sure that we coddle everybody's feelings in case somebody, and I can play your game. But the problem is, Jordan, I can immediately do the same to you, and I could decimate your freedom of saying anything. The moment you open your mouth and say anything about Muhammad, I'm going to say that's offensive, Jordan. Just like it is for me to, or StopS to put a picture on there. It's offensive to mention the word Quran. Do you know how much is in there about non-believers and how it hurts the rest of us? That is entirely offensive. I don't want Islam ever spoken about in the public sphere again. And if you're intellectually honest, you would have to say, okay, Rob, I agree. We're not going to talk about it. As long as you don't mock Muhammad, and you and I can make that pact. Don't ever speak about Muslim or promote it in the public, and I'll never say another word about Muhammad. How's that?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, look, I think you're making the claim that you are striving for this perfect society. That's your claim, and that you're doing it for the good of people. And I would still argue that we are human beings, and we are gonna naturally take offence to certain things. Now, there has to be a line drawn, as I made the point at the beginning. I'm not saying that that you just look at the Quran and say, look, take this out, or we start, not even being able to call each other sort of minor insults or things like that. There has to be obviously a level to it, and but there has to be a line drawn. I mean, are you seriously, Rob, saying that you would like the right to walk around Brixton shouting the N-word?
No, I think people should have the right, not that I would personally do it. And I think they should pay a social penalty. What I don't think is that it should be criminalized, or they should be attacked for it. That's what
okay. So that's the thing. So what you want,
the line?
What you want is you want the people to have the freedom to say it, but not to take the responsibility for their words, right?
How do you take responsibility for your words? You don't need to take responsibility if nobody's going to act violently towards you. If somebody walked around Brixton, to use your example, Jordan, and nobody came out of the house, nobody reacted to it, maybe somebody gave them a smile, or somebody said, that poor fella, that racist guy, that lunatic, whatever the case is, and they walked on, what would happen, Jordan?
That wouldn't happen, though, would it? That wouldn't happen.
I'm asking you, what would happen if people were like that?
That's my point. That wouldn't happen.
Okay, so everything in your example wouldn't happen. So let's stop speaking. But okay, Jordan, let's go with your idea. You said there had to be a line. What's that line? How do we establish it, and why should we accept it? The floor is yours.
Well, look, clearly there are lines drawn now, aren't there? And obviously we can take the example of shouting fire in a theatre, can't we?
No, I don't.
Why not?
We should no.
Why can't we take that?
No. Why is that? Why is that a line?
So do you think we should be able to say fire in a theatre? And
why?
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm not going to trample somebody. What if nobody moves?
And here's the thing.
You're taking this from Justin. Do you know where this came from?
Yeah, here's the thing, and that's why this argument, that's why I think your argument is getting ridiculous. Why do you think that is in place?
It was a mistaken analogy by Justice Wendell Holmes in a case where a Jewish person was on trial for supposedly communism, and the prosecution asked him, well, what would be offensive speech? And in the moment, he came up with the idea of shouting fire in a crowded theater, and other people that and since then, and I agree with them, have shown that that's a vacuous claim to suggest that should be prohibited.
So here's what the argument I would make with that is that obviously that is clearly set up for public safety, isn't it? That's clearly set. It's quite clear that a law like that is shouting fire on an aeroplane or something like that. It's clearly going to cause perhaps it can bring people safety.
Anything is possible, Jordan. But the case is, if nobody moves, then it's completely vacuous. And the Supreme Court, one of the courts, I don't know if the Supreme Court struck this down anyway and said, no, that's not something that would be unlawful. So in fact, that idea of shouting fire is not unlawful, or indeed something that should not be allowed.
The interesting thing is you actually genuinely think you're making a good point here. And I to be honest, I can't believe that you actually, taking this position of this kind of perfect world. It's just nonsensical. It's never going to happen, is it? And you know that. And I know you're saying you're striving towards it, but at the end of the day, it's things have to be put in place for society as it is.
I mean, that's all. I'm sure that sounds good to you. Yeah, what you've just uttered there, that sort of rhetoric. I'm asking you what the line is, how do we establish it, and why should the rest of us accept it? Can you answer those? Whenever I ask you,
but that's
I
a
don't
different.
get any
That's a
response. So I'm
different.
hoping
That's a
you're going to give me
different.
something.
That's a different conversation.
That's
Where
the
do we
question
draw
I
the
asked
line?
you originally.
Where we draw the line and things like that, and obviously that is obviously for a particular country to decide, and that's obviously what's sort of happening at the moment, isn't it? Things are being decided in that way.
Where do you think we're going now, Jordan? You say things are being decided that way. What do you think is happening in this country at the moment?
In what sense?
With regards to speech.
So here's what I think is happening with freedom of speech at the moment. It is being used. You know, you got someone like Tommy Robinson representing this kind of freedom of speech. And freedom of speech, look, let's make this clear. Freedom of speech was never ever set up to have hate speech. Like you said, there's no. Okay, yeah, here we go. Let's say, and I on my channel I started saying all South Africans are rats. They're rats. They deserve to be trod on. They're subhuman. If I started spreading rhetoric like that and it started to spread, some people started to believe me. That is dangerous. That is dangerous. And you may say it's only words, and people may take it, but history has shown that with those kind of words, it can lead to genocides. That kind of language.
Oh, okay. Jordan,
but hang on, Jordan. Do you think that somebody who's holding up a caricature, a drawing of an imaginary face, should die?
No. I've never made that claim, and no Muslim does.
No, I'm asking you. I didn't say that you were. I'm asking you a straightforward question. Should somebody die? And you said no.
That's a bizarre question, isn't it? That's just come out of nowhere. It's not linked to anything me and Rob are talking about.
It is. You said it is dangerous.
I said what's dangerous?
Free speech.
But I just made the point of dehumanizing people as hate speech.
There is no such thing as hate speech. There's free speech, and you said it can be dangerous.
Is that so?
That's why I asked you, is it okay for somebody to get killed for free speech?
Yeah,
so I don't think it should be. And you said no. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so let me get this straight. So you guys, interested. So you would support people shouting fire in a theatre, and you would also you would also absolutely be fine with, say, a political party just attacking a group of people and creating rhetoric that may put them in danger.
It's up to the people to understand this. It's up to the people to act on this. If I say go and kill somebody, I am now telling somebody to actively do something. Now, we have defamation. We have certain laws in the country which go and persecute somebody who does that.
And you want them all taken away. You want all the laws taken away, and you want us to have the ability. Basically, what you guys want is an uncivilized society. That's what you guys want.
No, but
okay, you're just throwing around words. This is not true. This is not true. What I am saying is I want to have free speech.
Rob's going to say striving for this perfect society.
So how's that uncivilized?
Because it's not going to happen, Rob. It's going to create a civilization that just allows people to have free reign. And we know that kind of. Am I echoing?
Yes.
No, sorry. Carry on.
Look, you don't have to look that far from history to realize how dangerous some of this stuff can be. I'm actually amazed that you guys are taking it to this. You guys are, it's actually quite extreme, your position, I would say.
But Jordan, don't you understand that we have people who are acting on the commands of the Quran and are killing other people, and yet you are saying the Quran should be around, it should be allowed to be distributed, yet people act on the words of the Quran and kill. Now, there is something wrong here, isn't there?
And you be bringing that as an argument. StopS, there's something wrong with you, man. So you're telling me the Quran instructs me to kill people? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Wow. Rob, do you want to continue,
but Jordan, that the idea of the Quran is the same thing. I can put the same argument. Jordan, you know what?
Rob, do you agree with that?
Can
do you agree with what StopS just said, that the Quran instructs me to kill people? Do you actually believe that?
You can certainly read it that way. Yep.
No, but do you read it that way?
Well, it depends which verse it is. So we can bring up a verse if you like. Depends which verse.
No, I'm asking you. You've read the Quran back to front.
Like I say, it depends which verse it is.
Wow.
But Jordan, we use the same example. You said, "Hey, if everybody said South Africans are rats,"
and interestingly, you guys want Islam stopped, don't you? So you guys are actually trying. Let's say you believe the Quran does say that. You guys should have no issue with that because you're actually here as free speech extremists. So You're actually
Exactly.
You're
And that is
contradicting
why I
yourself.
asked you, how come
No,
you
but
allow this
you're
if you don't
contradicting
want it?
You're the ones contradicting yourself, aren't you? Because you are
No,
trying
you
to,
are.
no,
I'm just showing you. That's why I've
you're
just
going against
brought up this
Islam
example
because
to
you
show
believe
that you
Islam
are
is dangerous.
contradicting yourself.
You believe Islam's dangerous because of what the Quran says.
Correct.
Yet on the other hand, you're saying that all other free speech should be allowed. So why not leave the
I'm
Quran
also
alone?
saying the Quran should be allowed.
Oh, you are you?
Correct.
I've never said anything to the opposite. I'm just showing you that you are being a hypocrite.
So the work you're doing is for the love of the people.
Jordan, what I
Correct.
showed you with the Quran, Jordan, what I showed you with the
Ridiculous.
Quran is we can use the same example, right? You use the example of, hey, if people said South Africans are all rats and they kept saying this is dangerous and it might incite somebody to violence. We could say, and there's clear examples that the same happens with the Quran. And in fact, you can draw direct links with those sort of things. And those people happen to be Muslim people who think they have a reading of the Quran or the Hadith that allows them to do this. So the same thing can be said. So that's why I say, when you want to draw a line, you've got to say, here's the methodology and here's why the rest of you should accept it. And it would not allow you to escape this either. You have to be held to the same standard that the rest of us would.
You guys, look, 1.8 billion Muslims. If we're all instructed to kill people, the world would be a complete mess. You guys are basically. Well, I know you're. I think I'm pretty sure I've heard you guys. I'm pretty sure for you the goal is that people stop reading the Quran, right?
No, exactly the opposite, Jordan. I want them to read the Quran. The more people that invoke critical thinking and actually read the Quran, the more likely they are not to be Muslims, because they're going to see this couldn't have come from God and it certainly isn't objectively good.
Okay.
And I bet you.
And the other thing that I am always.
Go on, StopS.
And the other thing that I'm always saying is that most Muslims are better than Muhammad and their God.
Yeah, exactly. They won't do what the Quran tells them, which is a good thing. So we are not bigots against Muslims. We are critiquing the religion because we know people like you, Jordan, are way better than Muhammad. If Muhammad was here today next to you, I'd stand with you every single day and twice on Sunday.
Who should I be killing right now?
You shouldn't be killing anybody, right?
No, but according to your
understanding.
According to your understanding of Islam, who should I be killing? Because
have you never read the Quran?
I have read the Quran a few times.
Okay, then just go in the chat, go one page up, and you can see one example.
We can put it up there. But I think the bigger point, Jordan, is that if you're going to use this example of, like you made the one with the South African, somebody else could say the same about Islam or about anything, any idea that somebody puts forward. They can draw some tenuous link to say, hey, somebody might actually take that and be violent. So how do you establish some sort of line?
No, but that's a nonsense argument to say, because you're sort of saying that, all right, if we stop people's freedom of speech, we're going to suddenly get down to the point where we get extreme and stop people saying anything. Who's to say that's even going to happen? I think you could just look at, like, say how
society.
What a
slippery slope is, though, Jordan. You know what?
I know what a slippery slope is. Yes.
It is. Okay. So what I'm saying is anybody can draw the link. Do you know at the moment that if you say something about transvestites or gender binary people, etc., they are doing the same sort of thing that you are. So you guys will be in this position. They are going to criminalize. They're going to do the same thing and draw a line and say, I don't want to hear any of this thing from Muslims about homosexuality, LGBT, etc., etc. You guys are not allowed to say that's hate speech. Are you okay with them saying it's hate speech?
So it's interesting, Rob, because if I said to you, Rob, right, I'm gonna tomorrow. I feel like going to let's use Brixton again. I feel like going to Brixton, and I feel like running around the square doing monkey noises, and I feel like going up to black people right in their face, and I feel like mentioning all the stuff they went through. What would your response be to me? Would it be, well, you're free to do it, go ahead? Yeah,
I'm not going to encourage you to do it. What I'm not going to do is criminalize it. But I asked you a specific question.
But would you discourage me? Would you discourage? Rob, would you discourage me from doing it?
Yes, I would say to you, don't do that.
Okay,
but it's
here
not
we
criminal.
go. So we're getting somewhere now. Why would you discourage me?
Because I don't think that that's a productive way to do things. However, I do respect your right to say so. That's my
Okay,
personal
okay, but
opinion
you agree it's
on that.
productive. And how
But
about my own?
Can you now answer my question?
How about
please?
my own safety? Is that it? Could you, as a mate,
Your safety should be guaranteed, Jordan.
But it's not, is it? But it's not.
No, unfortunately, it's not, because we live in, quote,
No,
the
yeah.
world with the lowest hanging fruit.
we live in the
like
real
I said
world.
to you, that's not
Because
the
we live
world I
in the
want to
real
live in. But you apparently want to live in a world with the lowest hanging fruit.
Your world sounds like, what's that film with Will Smith where they're all kind of like robots just going around? That seems like
No,
your
my
world.
world is a world where
It's
people
ridiculous.
take control of their emotions and their psychological and
I bet you,
emotional
Rob, I bet
well-being,
you,
and they educate themselves. So
I
they
bet
don't
you
feel
don't
offended.
practice what you
Your
preach.
world is,
I bet
hey,
you're waffling.
Everybody out there can be
You're
offended.
waffling.
Let's not open our mouths in case somebody
Complete
chooses to be
waffle.
offended or gets violent.
I guarantee you do not practice what you preach on this topic. I guarantee you get offended at things.
That's a
And
substantive response.
if you don't,
I'm hoping for something better.
we need to
Try
put
and
you in.
respond
We
with
need
something
to actually hold you up as an example and put you. You know, the doctors need to assess you because you're obviously some kind of superhuman being that never gets offended.
Jordan, do you not understand the difference between a principle and practice? That's what I'm striving towards. I'm not
baffled.
claiming that I am Buddha.
What's interesting
what I'm claiming is here's a principle I'm
you
striving
guys are
towards,
sitting
and I'm
here
encouraging
thinking
you and
you're
everybody
actually
else to
generally
strive
thinking you're
towards it as
making
well.
decent. Yeah, it's amazing. Just sitting with you guys, and honestly, it makes me happy to be religious. Sitting with you guys, this is not. That wouldn't be somewhere where I want to live. Sorry.
What would not make you happy to be religious? If I said to you, "Hey, Jordan,
Because
you've
got no regard for people.
because
You've got no
anybody
regard.
might be offended." So, Jordan, let's stop speaking on this channel right now, because I'm sure there's somebody in the chat that's offended. Let's also, and please don't go down to Speaker's Corner because somebody's going to be offended. Let's stay home, zip our mouths up, then we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful world because nobody will have to say anything.
Let's put that straw man back in your pocket.
That's the
Let's put that
reductor
straw
ad
man
absurdum
back.
that I'm putting
That's
to
not
you.
a straw man.
Jordan,
What are we allowed to say? What are we allowed to
that
say?
is Rob using an extreme example to prove his point.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's
There you
ridiculous.
go.
Absolutely.
What are we
Now you're
allowed to
getting
say
it.
about Islam,
And you
Jordan?
use an
What do you
extreme point
think?
to say I can't get to that world?
Well, currently, if I go to Speaker's Corner, my prophet, peace be upon him, it will be called a paedophile. People will be opening Quran verses, shouting all sorts of stuff about it. I don't see people going around saying that should be stopped.
Okay, what can we say? What are we allowed, in your opinion, what are we allowed to say?
Well, it wouldn't be my decision, would it? But are you asking me?
Well, you're deciding now. So
are you
just give me your...
Are you asking me if it was my society, how would I operate it?
No, I want your opinion, what we are allowed to say about Islam. Am I allowed to say that Muhammad was a pirate?
I believe that these things, so let's go back to the M word. I believe that these things need to be taken individually. So it could be, maybe the M word, 100 years ago wasn't what it is now, for example. Maybe back then it was just a color. Now it's obviously got clear connotations that denigrates people and offends people right down to the core. So I believe that a civilized and society that cares about its people inside, its civilians, should actually take some precaution on what words are just allowed to be thrown out. And that does go on in this country at the moment. Gay people are protected, for example, for sort of some of the hate speech against them. There are people drawing lines out there, and there are people doing this.
Are you going to answer my question?
I just answered your question.
Okay, let me try again. What are we allowed to say about Islam? Am I allowed to call Muhammad a pirate?
Did you not hear my answer?
No, you were talking about the society in Britain.
Yeah, each one. So for example, I don't know. Let's take Hatun.
Islam. Jordan, watch my lips. Islam. Can you read my lips? Islam. What are we talking? What are we allowed to say about Islam?
So StopS. So I just said, I don't know what was unclear about my answer about it needs to be individual for things like that. So you want me to suddenly draw you out a list now of the things you can say?
No, just give me an example. What are we allowed to say? Am I allowed to say Muhammad was a pirate?
Yeah. Look, currently you can do whatever this country's law allows you, can't you?
I'm not talking about the country's law. I'm talking about your offense level. When do you feel offended? Do you feel offended if I call Muhammad a pirate?
Yeah, but you're talking from an individual to an individual. This would have to be a case-by-case collective approach. This can't just be, Jordan, what would you find offensive? Because just because I might find something really offensive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I think you shouldn't be able to say it.
I'm asking you, as a person to person, would you feel offended if I called Muhammad a pirate?
Have I not already answered that?
I think he said no, he wouldn't find that offensive.
Rob, did I say no to him about
no
I don't know, about 1 minute ago?
But then you also
read my
went off,
lips.
so I'm not sure that the point was clear, Jordan. What we're looking
Well,
for
you
is
heard
the
it.
line,
You
because
heard
you
it.
said we should draw a line. What is that line, Jordan? How do we establish what? Because a line is something clearly demarcated, and there's good reasons that
This
people
line,
accept
Rob,
the line. What is that, please?
This line isn't for me, you, and StopS to set. It is for society to decide, isn't it? And people make
We
their
are
case.
society.
Yeah, you're part of society. We are free
Exactly.
people in a broad society. So we need to. Obviously, everybody needs to decide. We're a democracy, aren't we? So it's not you guys decide, and that's the way it
Okay,
is.
so how we do this then is by the majority, whatever the majority think.
Yes, that would be it, wouldn't it?
Okay, so and if the majority,
Do you not believe in
Jordan,
democracy? Do you not believe in democracy?
Jordan, so if the democracy,
Do you not believe in democracy?
If the majority
Yeah,
of
you can avoid
people
that
said
question.
that it's
Avoid that one.
okay to be offended, would you be all right with that?
Say that again.
If the majority of people said that it's okay to be offended and there shouldn't be a line, if that's what the majority wanted, would you be okay with that?
I would have to accept it, wouldn't I?
Because-
Can I control
But
my
we asked you
offence?
for your line, and then you offloaded it onto society because you said there should be a line. So clearly you think there should be a line. When asked what that line is and how we establish it, you say, oh, well, that's for society to say. Why should there be a line? That's what I'm asking you. And then you gave the example like South Africa, and I showed you that is self-defeating. You're shooting yourself in both feet because the same logic that you employ can be employed against you and anybody else in society for virtually anything. And you've got no counter to that.
Yeah, and that may happen, mightn't it? That may well happen. You have to
There you
accept
go.
it. So
And
what
now
point
you're
do you
striving
think
for the lowest possible low-hanging fruit. So where we go back to a society where nobody can say anything because somebody might choose to feel offended. Is that the
that's not.
society you want to live in?
Why have you suddenly brought the low-hanging fruit back into it? We've just made.
That's what you're striving for by saying that we should have a line, and that line, if you enforce it consistently, would deny anybody anything that they could say because somebody else will choose to feel offended. There's already guidelines in this country that people can be offended for things that aren't even said to them. They could be offended for somebody else, Jordan, in the UK now. Is that okay?
Sure. So
Now
there
you're
could
appealing
be.
to low-hanging fruit. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not. So obviously there could be a law, for example. Currently there's no law, is there, at the moment, to go around shouting that the Prophet, peace be upon him, is a paedophile, is there? There's no law for that. But am I going to? Does that mean I won't get offended to it? Can I really control that? Am I low hanging fruit, Rob? If something like that offends me, if I hold the problem with you guys is you don't hold anything as dear as a religious person does. So you may call that
That's
low
not
hanging fruit.
true. Why are you making this
Jordan,
statement? That's not true.
I think your argument. I think your
Jordan.
arguments prove it. StopS said I can have his mum on my profile picture. So I would suggest.
Jordan, we hold things
suggest he
dear. What
doesn't
we
hold
don't
it.
do is choose to get offended if somebody says something that they likely isn't true, or even if it is, we choose not to get offended. It's not that we don't hold things dear. It's a non sequitur to say, hey, because we allow things, that doesn't mean we don't hold things dear. We hold things dear. We just don't choose to be controlled by other people's thoughts about what those things are, and you and other people do.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
okay.
detrimental to yourself, and you don't even realize it. I'm trying to
Yeah, you're
explain
trying to
this
help
to
me.
you, and
Yeah,
you're
you're
very
trying to help me.
resistant to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
idea.
I'm
Because
not
you've got this idea
resistant to the idea, Rob. I see myself. I'm fairly intelligent. I have a reasonable experience in the world. I understand how it works. You two are virtually sitting on here, like you are the perfect human beings that can choose not to take offence to things, and that is pure rubbish. And anyone in the comment section will know that, or anyone watching.
No, it's not. Everybody knows that it is a choice.
Choosing to take offence to something. So
yes. That's
it's
the way it is.
No. Here's the choice. Here's how it works. And listen to me on this point. You will get offended. That will come from within. It's your choice to react or to be angry about it. That is what you can control. You can't control being offended.
Of course you can, Jordan. You are completely
What are
wrong
you
about
talking
that.
about?
Utterly and completely wrong.
No, you got.
You're not even wrong. That's how bad that statement is.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
How do you think
I maintain that
Jordan?
position 100 times. Is that
Okay.
I can't control. Let's say, for example, my mum was ill, for example, and you started mocking her illness. I'm telling you, unfortunately, the offence I take will not be controlled. That would hurt. But would I be able to control myself? I hope so.
Jordan, let me break it down. I won't go all the way because that'd take all night. Let me break it down to you. What happens when you get offended? Let's unpack the scenario of what happens there and where it hits your ability to do something about it. So there's some utterance made, some sound waves are made in a particular language that you understand. When this happens, it hits your ears. You then have to comprehend what's being said, and then either by how you've grown up or how people have taught you, you will take some meaning from this, and then you will have an emotional reaction to it potentially. And in the case of your mom, at the point that you hear something and you interpret it, at that point you have control. You are suggesting that at that point you have no control. The reaction is automatic. And I am challenging that and suggesting that that is not the case. I'm a living example of that. I used to be like you, and I'm not perfect, and I'm not claiming to be Buddha, and I could still be quote unquote offended, but it would be my choice and it would be my shortcoming, not somebody else's.
The arrogance of the atheist.
Just has nothing to do with an atheist.
It does,
you
really
claim
does.
that it was impossible, or you claim that you would take offense no matter what, and I've broken it down and showed you that at a certain point you are able to control things. You are able to reinterpret what the utterance is that you've heard and have a different meaning to it. And at that point you no longer choose to feel offended.
So, Rob, are you talking
agree
about?
Or disagree? And if you disagree, show me where I'm.
No, Rob, are you talking about yourself, or do you believe this is?
I'm talking about it as a principle.
That's a human being. So all human beings can control their offense.
Have the ability, if they have a cognitive ability above whatever the requirement is for this. I mean, a retarded person may not, or somebody like that. But I'm talking about a normal person who has the cognitive ability to understand and represent some utterance that they've heard. If I spoke to you in a different language and quote insulted your mom, would you feel offended? The obvious answer is no, because you don't even interpret what I'm saying. The fact is you first have to interpret it, then you take a meaning, and then you have an emotional reaction. At the time you interpret it, you can interpret it differently.
Yeah, see, I don't agree, and I do think this is a...
Why not?
It is a very individual thing. I reckon perhaps you're less offended, and you may get other people... Look, there are various reasons why we take offence, isn't there? It could be, I don't know, people's pride hurt,
to respond to my thing. Why am I wrong? At the point that I'm telling you can represent the utterance you've heard before you have a negative emotion, how am I wrong? Are you saying that it is impossible to represent something that you've heard and not have an emotional, negative reaction?
This is not, I mean, can I prove you? I'm saying, and I think most people, most rational people will understand if you've ever been offended that it's not a choice. Some may be a choice, but I guarantee you, Rob, and I'd love to put this to practice, but it wouldn't be nice. I guarantee you I could get an offence from you. So yeah, that's my position.
You know what?
Why am I wrong? Why am I wrong? Why am I wrong?
Jordan, you know what? I'm going to agree that it is possible for you to say something for which I choose to take offence in the moment, and then afterwards, because I'm not Buddha or perfect, I'm going to go, hang on a moment, what happened there?
Why would you ever
negative emotional response? It's
why would
my
you choose?
responsibility. I could have represented that differently and not allowed you to quote trigger me.
Why on earth would anyone choose to be offended? Why would you?
Because they don't have a psychological and emotional education that shows them they don't have to do that, and they haven't put it into practice. That's
well,
why.
then they're not choosing, are they? They're not choosing,
question.
are they? If you're saying that they're not educated enough, they're not choosing, are they?
In the sense that they can do something different. Of course they can do something different. Well, and I've said it to you, and you recognize that that's the case. Even intuitively you recognize it, but you're still resistant to it, and you don't agree, but you can't tell me why.
Well, you can't tell me why I'm wrong. So we disagree. We disagree on this.
When you say we just disagree,
well, how have you proved? How did what you say just prove anything? Just because Rob says it?
Well, let me ask you again. Do you agree that when you hear certain utterances that you understand in a particular language, at that point you can learn to represent them such that you don't have a negative emotional reaction? Do you agree that's possible or not?
I disagree that is possible for every single thing for an individual. And if they are, then they are amazing.
What's the argument for that? Your personal opinion, your intuition?
I think personal experience of the world, and I think so. What's your argument? What's your argument? What are you basing yours on? Are you coming with
psychology? My own and mine and other people that I've seen, and I've done this myself and other people. We have learned to represent. If somebody says to me, "Your mother's a whore," for example, my immediate reaction is, "What's your evidence for that?" My immediate reaction is not, "You're a bastard." I'm going to have a negative emotional reaction. Why? Because I've educated myself on this, and I can take the utterances and rationalize them and go, why are you saying that? What's your evidence for that? And if it's true, then I'd have to agree with it. If it's not true, then you're just talking nonsense. Why do I need to bring in the emotion into it? The only reason I bring emotion in is because I don't have control over my psychology or my emotional state. Do you want to have control over it, or do you want to allow somebody else to control you, Jordan? That's ultimately what it.
What would I want? Oh, I would love to. I would love to be able to control everything. That would be great. Of course.
Great. Well, then, so you're on my side then.
I don't think you've understood my argument at all, have you?
You're saying that it's impossible. You haven't given a reason. You've appealed to your emotion. I've showed you that it can be, that I'm a living example. Other people are. And if you wanted to, you could do it too. And you're just saying, well, I just disagree with you. What's the reason? Well, I just don't feel like it. I mean,
Rob,
clearly that's not a substantial response.
If you can do it, if you can do that, props to you. Well done. And great. And great.
You can't do it.
I may be able to do it. I may be one. I do believe that I'm fairly calm.
I believe you can do it too, Jordan.
I believe I'm fairly calm.
Why don't you want to, Jordan?
No, but it's not that I don't want to. Of course.
Sure. Well then, okay. You know what, Jordan? If you want to, it's like going. Let me give you an analogy. It's like saying, you know what? I hate I hate the smell of crap. Right? People shitting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go work at a sewage plant for a month. After that, you don't smell it anymore. And that's what I'm encouraging. Every time somebody insults your prophet that you think existed and did what he did, that should help you become stronger and more resistant to it. And you should welcome it. Why not?
So let me ask you this, Rob, because I guess this is basically my argument. Do you believe that is possible for all of society to do?
I think it's possible for the large majority that have a cognitive ability to understand what I've just said.
So what do the other people do?
Then we'd have to do something with
Get
it.
offended.
Do something with them, yeah.
But Jordan, we do things with those Jordan, we do things with those sort of people already. When people don't have cognitive ability or whatever, we take care of them in some way so they don't hurt themselves or other people. We already do that. We have institutions that do that already.
Rob, I think
you're a smart bloke. I'm appealing to what I'd like society to be.
This argument is, I think it's ridiculous, and it's not ridiculous. It's unrealistic, and so I guess that's my point.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah, that is my argument.
You know what, Jordan? 200 years ago, they thought it was unrealistic that we wouldn't have that slavery would disappear. Guess what? It did.
What's that, Rob?
So your argument is your personal thought about something without any substantial response. There's been things throughout human history that people thought, oh, I don't think that's going to happen. That's unrealistic.
So you'll come around. You'll come back to my argument is, oh well, anything's possible.
Most things are possible unless you demonstrate they're impossible.
Okay. All right. And have you got any evidence over the history of our civilization so far that what you're saying can be achieved? Have you got anything to go on?
America, a shining example of this in the Constitution. Even if every American doesn't follow it, that's what every country should have.
So in America, I can go and say whatever I want over there.
Pretty much anything. You can almost say anything you want. There's a few limits, but pretty much anything. That's a shining example of what a constitution or a society in principle should look like. And it could probably even be better than that. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it could certainly be. You tell me a country that's better than that in terms of how one should be able to freely express themselves. Tell me a better place.
Interestingly, they still have limits, don't they? Can you? What are the limits in America? And I'd be interested to check this out. Can you go around?
We can go look that up, but that's entirely irrelevant to this conversation. You asked me.
No, it's not. It's not.
Have we progressed? And I've given you an example of what I think progression at this level of where we are currently in our progression as a human species is in terms of this particular topic we're talking about. Can you tell me a better one?
A better what than your argument?
A better country or society where people have recognized the importance of freedom of speech, for example.
Would I support a country that will allow sort of anything, all holds bar? No, obviously not. I'm not a free speech absolutist. So you may see it.
I don't claim I am either, but I'm right on the edge as far as humanly possible. And you said to me, what society was it? What society is? And I gave you America. Give me one that's better.
Rob, you're not a free speech absolutist.
But Jordan, we still don't know what your standard is. So give me measure your standard. I've given you.
You've been arguing me the whole time about arguing that people should be able to say whatever they want, and
I said pretty much whatever. I've been consistent throughout.
But what are the things? You've got limits.
Give me a country. Jordan,
you've got limits.
Country.
Rob, what are your limits of speech?
Yeah, direct incitement to violence. I've said that many times. Now, Jordan, give me a country where you think it best represents what you view as whatever limits need to be on speech. What country would be
And
closest
why is
to your view?
why is incitement to violence your exception?
What country would be closest to your view?
No,
of
you
what
don't
we
want to
should
get
have?
into that. You don't want to get into that. So what country? If America is see, here's my understanding of free speech, and I'm pretty sure this is why it was set up. It was set up for people to be able to talk out against their rulers, for example. It was set up for the noble idea of expressing your freedoms and stuff. Freedom of speech was not set up to just go around abusing racism, the sort of gutter-like behavior.
Can you give us the countries
And that is kind of
represent?
what you two on here would support. That's what Tommy Robinson would support. And to be honest, I think it's quite easy to support it in your position. But I think if you were black or if you were Muslim, you would find it harder to support.
Jordan, do you think you've said anything substantial in answering my question? I
totally
answer your
ridiculous.
questions directly. You go
Yeah,
off on a tangent.
look,
give us a bit of
I know from you
sophistry,
two.
and
I know
think
from you two.
line of sentences you've just uttered is
I've
in any way
I've seen
a
how you
substantial
guys.
response.
I've seen how you guys, just analyze streams, and I know how you guys.
Have you learned
think
anything from
and how
it,
you
Jordan?
feel. No, I haven't learned anything. I knew this was your position,
Okay,
Rob.
well, there we go. That sort of says everything, doesn't it?
Oh, so I should learn from you, yeah? Because you guys are so intellectual, and your arguments are spot on.
No,
Show
it's
us where
about
we're
facts.
wrong.
It's about
We can be wrong.
reality.
Show us where
What
we're wrong.
realities have I been presented with? I got Rob believing that we could all be this super society that not one person can act on their natural emotions.
He didn't say that.
Other than that, no, but that is what he's saying, because I'm saying that.
No, he's not saying that. He's
He is
saying every
that. He is
person
saying
should
that.
be and
He is
is
saying that.
capable of controlling it.
Because I've made the claim that offence isn't always something you can choose. We may take offence at things. I've made that claim, and you guys seem to think that is some stupid backward idea.
It is, Jordan. You're being emotional. You're not being rational at all. You're just bringing your feelings into this and saying, well, my feelings need to be respected. And I'm saying,
When
no,
have I
they
said
don't.
my feelings? What's this got to do with my feelings? I'm not even saying that I'm one.
Everything.
I'm not even saying I'm one of these people. I would like to be what Rob said. I would like to be the sort of person that can, whatever anyone says to me, I can choose to take that and I can react, properly on it. But I understand Rob's argument, and I hopefully clearly that I have understood it. But it's just not realistic.
Why is it not realistic? Why don't you? Why do you feel offended if I put a picture of somebody that you've never seen, you've never met, you'd have no clue who it is, and you're saying, I'm offended for that person because you put that picture onto your avatar?
If I punch you in the face, can you control the pain?
What does that have to do with it?
Well, it has a lot to do with it. Can you, if I punch you in the face, can you control not to be hurt?
Jordan, that's a total
No, and it's
equivocation
totally
fallacy.
irrelevant. You can
No,
talk
it's
about the
not
weather in
irrelevant
Auckland,
at
but
all.
this has
It's not relevant
nothing to
at
do
all.
with it.
It's not irrelevant at all,
This
because
is
I would rather
this is
be
very
punched in the
unimpressive, my
face.
friend.
I'd rather be punched
We're
in the
talking
face and
about
have my
words,
profit
not actions.
and have my profit
Jordan.
insulted. So for
Okay,
me,
this is
talking
your
about
feeling.
words, not
To have
actions.
your profit insulted, you can only feel insulted. Does your prophet feel insulted? No, it's an imaginary figure in a book. It's just a figure, a character in a book.
So I have to think like you. I can't. Is it okay for me to hold the prophet piece upon him in a greater esteem than, say, my parents? Is that okay?
No,
for
it's
you?
not okay.
I don't
Well,
think
why
that's
not?
rational
Why
personally,
can't I
but
have
you
my
can do
freedom?
it.
It's
But
an
no,
imaginary figure. How can you take an imaginary figure you
Rob,
don't know,
Rob, can you
you've
see where
never
it's
met, and hold it more
I'm pretty
dear than your
sure- I'm
parents?
pretty
There's
sure
something
Rob-
wrong with you.
I'm pretty sure Rob can see where you're going wrong there, StopS.
Okay, ask him.
Rob?
I don't think that it's rational to hold a person that died that you have very little idea
That's
about.
your opinion.
More,
That's your feelings.
More
I'm
important
asking
than your
for your
parents
feelings.
that brought you life,
I'm not
that
asking
take
for your
took care of
feelings.
you.
Is it okay for me?
I think that's irrational. You can
So
hold a
essentially,
view, but I think that that's irrational.
and this is where it gets to the crux of it. You guys are telling me how to feel.
No,
No,
pointing
we're
out where
telling
we
you
think
that
you're
it is
irrational,
not normal
where
to
you
feel
are irrational,
offended about somebody
and
who
giving you
died.
reasons why, Jordan. That's what an argument is.
Oh my word!
I appreciate you don't do it a lot, but I'm.
So basically, StopS' argument was, all you religious idiots, it's all imaginary. So how can you get offended? And he's literally sitting there thinking he's got a good argument. It's
I
ridiculous.
am saying it is irrational to feel offended for somebody you have never met, you don't know, who is a pirate who has looted people, killed, raped, enslaved, and you are telling me you feel offended if I put a picture of somebody that you think might be this picture, you don't know that, and then you tell me that it's okay to have negative feelings about that. That is irrational, that is what I'm saying. And now prove me wrong.
And I love the fact that you made that point, because I think you've kind of exposed yourself with that point. So
I have exposed myself. I'm still totally
so,
dressed here.
Because you guys are saying freedom, but essentially I should be able to be free to believe that, shouldn't I?
Jordan,
I should be able to be free to
Sure
believe.
you are.
So
Sure, you're free to believe anything, but don't act on it. Don't go and condemn anybody to say, well, you're not allowed to put that picture there because I feel offended.
No, but you guys, like Rob just made the point that how can I see this imaginary figure in greater esteem to my parents? So Rob's actually putting a value on these things, and then attribute it to me. So even Rob's putting obviously a value on this. He's not just saying.
Didn't you say that, Jordan? Didn't you say that you feel that you feel more for this prophet than your parents? Wasn't that what you just said?
Yeah, that's what a Muslim would say.
And that's what you believe too, yes?
Yes.
And I'm suggesting to you that's irrational. A, you don't know this man. B, you can't demonstrate that he actually existed and did what he did. And but worse than that, you have parents that presumably, hopefully, your parents, you love them, they took care of you, and you want to hold in higher esteem somebody that may or may not have existed.
But Rob,
that you don't know for sure.
No. But what you're doing
Because
is you're pushing
in a book.
You're pushing your beliefs on me now by even saying that.
I'm suggesting you that's why I think it's irrational. So now, Jordan, can you say to me, Rob,
Thank
it
you
is
for your
rational, and here is my reasons why it's rational. Give me an
No,
argument.
but that's a separate conversation, Rob.
It's exactly the conversation. I've given you the reason why I think you're irrational. Here's why you're irrational. Here's the reasons. Give me reasons why you are
rational.
rational.
I give you guys the reason, and you both just sit there laughing at them. What does that mean?
Well, give us the reason.
Because you guys, you're not going to accept them. So you know,
whether we accept them or not, can you give a reason? Maybe we're so biased, but people in the chat might listen. Give us a reason why it's rational to love somebody you've never met that you claim is a prophet more than the parents that brought you up and loved you.
But what is the relevance of this? Like, and this is what I'm talking about being civilized. If I have a Christian neighbor, and I think it's ridiculous to believe in the Trinity or things like that. Can I honestly go, just say you're completely irrational, and therefore their offence is less?
Jordan, we're just asking you to provide a rational response as to why you love the prophet more than your parents. Rob,
I'm not getting into this with you two. You're giving me a separate point, aren't you? Because you guys know, you both understand Islam. You know how highly we regard the Prophet, peace be upon him. So you're actually going to divert the conversation if I'm going to suddenly get into why I believe what I believe. And to be honest, that's not relevant. That's not relevant to the conversation.
It is, because you said, hey, I love the Prophet more than my parents. And the inference is that I should be more offended about something that's said about my Prophet than my parents. And I want to know why.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You said that. That's
the inference.
And you put the values on. I just gave an example. I just said, let's saying I held the Prophet, peace be upon him, higher than my.
So it's not like it's
but you're the one that then said, yeah, but how can you do that? It's irrational. Your parents brought you up.
Correct, and I gave you reasons why.
You're the one that done that. You're the one that done that.
Correct, Jordan. And presumably you think that it's rational, and you have a reason for it. I'd like to hear what the reason is.
I'm not going to go into the reasons of why I because you guys.
Oh, come on, that's a lame cop out. Oh my God.
Why do you believe?
I have a reason, but I'm not going to tell you.
That's what your buddy Hamza always says. What do you believe and why do you believe it? And you said, hey, I think it's rational to love the Prophet more than my parents. Why do you believe it?
Okay, let me ask you this. Is it possible, is it okay for you if I believed God was in more higher regard than my parents?
You can believe anything you want. What I want to hear from you is reasons why you believe it. Why do you think it's rational?
Well, if I believe that the Creator created my parents, would that be enough for you guys?
No.
Well, then exactly. So why are you asking? So
it's not the question.
Yeah, but if I say, let's say to you, look, Allah is higher than my parents because Allah created my parents. To me,
and He didn't create Muhammad.
Of course, He created Muhammad. Peace be upon him.
So where is the difference? Why would you take one bloke who maybe existed 1,000 years ago higher in esteem than your parents, who brought you up, who gave you everything, who taught you everything, who were there for you, who took you to the doctor, who got you through school, who did everything for you, and there's some guy who did absolutely nothing for you, and you say he's more value, more higher in my esteem than my physical parents.
So you're basically just diverting the question onto why I believe the Prophet, peace be upon him, is special to me, right? When you know
question.
You know the reasons why. You know that we believe he's the example.
Okay.
For mankind.
What is the reason?
You know
what is the reason?
You know that we believe he was the perfect example for us all. You know that.
Okay. What is the reason? Is that the reason?
Yeah,
because he was the perfect example. Is that your reason?
That is the reason. I follow his example. So yeah.
His example. So you rape, behead, you kill, you enslave, you do all these things.
See, this is why. This is absolutely nonsense conversation for you two.
Okay, I'm asking you a question.
Okay, so I'm guessing that your free speech perfect world, that conversation is over now.
No.
I'm asking you a question. Do you do those things? The answer would be no, I don't.
Do I do what things?
Oh my God. Enslave, behead, rape, kill.
Am I instructed to do that?
I am not asking. Jesus, why do you always divert? Why is it that you cannot answer a straight question with a straight answer?
Look, you guys have. This has to be a decent conversation. Otherwise, this is going to be pointless, isn't it?
Jordan,
yeah, because you're always diverting. You're not answering a single question. You're always going off into the somewhere.
I mentioned about the example, and you talk about rape and beheading. Is that really the conversation we're going to have now?
Well, Jordan,
that is really the conversation we have to have, because that is what Muhammad did, and you are saying you are following his example. That is what Muhammad did according to the stories that are deemed authentic by Islamic scholars, and you are saying you're following his example, but you're not following his example. You are better than Muhammad.
I don't have to copy every single thing that Muhammad, peace be upon him, done. Obviously,
well, then don't fucking tell me that you look up to the guy.
Why? But obviously, he did. I can't marry 11 wives, can I?
Jordan, that's
exactly.
Him being the example.
So there's nothing. What can you do that Muhammad did that nobody else can do?
Is that your argument? Rob, have you got anything better than what StopS to say?
Jordan,
you cannot answer. This is the problem. You don't have an argument. You don't have a reason.
But you. What? So I have to answer why I'm not beheading people. So are you saying to me, Jordan, if you follow the Prophet, people, and why aren't you not going out beheading people? Is that really?
You said you are looking up to the Prophet.
I'm having to deal with this conversation.
You said that you are looking up to Muhammad and you are following his example. That's what you said, right?
Yes. I'm not copying every single
What example are you following?
But look, we know that, and to be honest, you guys know all this. It's so insincere. You know that there are obviously things that happened at a time that I don't have to do them now, and I don't have to suddenly become and head a war up, do I? And go and start conquering countries. I don't have to go and start beheading people. I don't.
Exactly. So you're not following the example.
Okay, in your opinion, I'm not following the example. Should we move on?
It's not an opinion. It's a fact. You just said it. You are not doing what Muhammad did. You said it yourself.
StopS knows Islam better than all the scholars. The arrogance of the arrogance in the way you talk is probably.
You see, now you're talking about something else again.
Stop. The arrogance in the way you talk is probably the reason you have no viewers. It's probably the reason why no one comes on it. Unless you can actually sit and have a decent conversation, no one's going to come here. It's a waste of time.
What is a decent conversation in your eyes?
Well, the answer is, why do you think only 20 or 30 people come? I do come over and pop over sometimes, but no one listens to your nonsense. And if you want to have a decent...
you're asking me. I asked you a question, and your answer is asking me something irrelevant.
I'll your questions, and you can avoid all mine. Go on. What was that?
I asked you, what is a decent conversation?
A decent conversation with a Muslim wouldn't be, why are you not beheading people if you follow the Prophet? Why are you not going out raping people if you follow the Prophet? That is
that's what we shouldn't do. What should we do? I asked you what a decent conversation is, not what a conversation is not.
Rob, are you co-signing what this nutter is saying?
Jordan, I'm listening.
I think Rob feels awkward right now. I think Rob's awkward.
No, I'm fine. So Jordan, I'm going to put it to you similar to StopS, but maybe in a slightly different way. If you think that Muhammad is the perfect example, and he did any of the things that StopS did, Why would you not follow it? Presumably, what you mean by perfect is somebody that has the best actions that you would follow in any circumstance. You're not in a position to pick and choose if you claim somebody is the perfect example. If you just said, hey, he's a good example, but there's certain things that he did I don't agree with or wouldn't do, then you're on firm ground. But if you say he's the perfect example, then you should be following his example. So the question is, if you think you do any of those things, then why aren't you following it?
But if I'm strictly instructed that I can't kill, for example, where is that? Why do I even have to answer about these stupid beheadings? Are you telling me that I'm allowed to rape people?
Well, then you're not following what Muhammad did.
Oh, it's just...
Jordan, can't you see that you're being hypocritical and inconsistent?
Can you not see the nonsense in your... Rob, is there any way we can either have a decent conversation or... Because I'm not... This is just...
You don't even know what a decent conversation is. I just asked you couldn't answer.
I had one with Rob, and then when you joined in, all of the nonsense came up. You're pointless, StopS. You're absolutely pointless.
Jordan,
so, Rob, do you want to carry on anything, Rob?
I think the point is that you said that you love him more than that, and then we obviously got on to, well, what is it about him that you love? And presumably you don't think that he did any of those things. If it were the case that he did do any of those things, and then you're saying, well, hang on, I'm enjoined not to do those, but he's the perfect example. To me, that's, if this is the case, that sounds like a contradiction. So one of two things would need to be the case. Either you have to reconcile the contradiction, or you have to select that you would follow him. So, because oftentimes the Quran seems to say contradictory things. Hey, don't do this, but here's what Muhammad did. And then the claim is, but he's the example. So to my ear, it's like either you follow him in whatever he says, or you don't, right? And that's, but you obviously don't view that he's ever done anything wrong.
To what extent are you guys, I mean, this is like a childish conversation. Like, we know that the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to war, for example. So we know that there would have been, he went to battle and there would have been killings and stuff. So are you saying to me, Jordan, why are you not going out to war killing people? Because that's what the Prophet, peace be upon him, done. When we know we're talking, I mean, come on, you guys know, you should by now know about, Islam and what was happening at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And you know full well the teachings that a Muslim is not allowed to kill, not allowed to rape.
So, no, it's your claim. You claim that you are following the Prophet, that you look up to Muhammad, that you are following his example. Would you criticize, would you condemn Muhammad if he were to have said, I want you to go and enjoy raping female captives? Would you do that?
Now you've changed it. No,
it's still the same thing. No, it's still the same identical thing.
Why am I not going out there beheading people? That is, I mean, how low IQ is that to ask someone?
That's exactly the point. How low IQ is it? And that's why you're not doing it. My question is, would you condemn Muhammad if he said that he would encourage his men to go and enjoy raping female captives? Would you condemn that?
Would I condemn if something like that happened? I would need to look at obviously the context of what happened back then.
I'm asking you. There is a context where raping female captives is okay?
Well, you may call it rape, but what define rape? So rape is what?
Rape is having sex with somebody without their consent.
And then they can't say no, right?
Jordan, if you ask me a question and I'm trying to answer and you are speaking, I cannot answer you. Rape is having sex with somebody without their consent.
Yes.
Would you condemn Muhammad if he encouraged his men to enjoy raping female captives?
Show me the situation.
I've just given you the situation. Would you condemn Muhammad if he encouraged his men to enjoy raping female captives?
To enjoy raping female captives, yeah?
Yes.
So, of course I wouldn't be happy with that.
I asked you, would you condemn this?
Would I condemn if it's as you're saying it is? Of course I would.
Thank you. I'm so glad you don't know Hadith.
I mean, StopS, if you want to bring up
Rob, I honestly think, Rob, you need to get some better class on your show because it ain't going to grow with this guy on it.
Jordan, you're just scared. You've just admitted something that you will condemn the Prophet for something that he did, okay? And yet you are looking up to him, and then you condemn him. You're full of shit. Come on, you're contradicting yourself. You don't know what you're doing. You're totally lost.
StopS. I think what you need to do is just bring up the verses to show Jordan, because otherwise he's going to deny that Muhammad ever did anything like that. So I think, but I actually acknowledge, Jordan, that if that were the case, Jordan, that you are prepared to say that, you know how many Muslims dance around and wouldn't even, if it were the case, right? Because they are too concerned that it might be the case, so they'll hedge their bets. At least you were man enough to say that if it were the case that he encouraged rape, you would condemn that. Now, of course, the question is, did that in fact happen?
Yeah, and I know, you know, you guys will pull up things, and the thing is, I will obviously need to, whatever you put, I think I probably know what you're going to pull up, but I would go and study. I wouldn't just, you know, obviously take your word.
That's fine, Jordan. I'm not telling you to accept our word. I want you to go study. I want everybody to think critically. I don't want you to just to accept it because we told you. That would be ridiculous. In fact, I would highly question something just because we told you.
Mm.
But the same thing goes the other way around, right? You don't just believe something because your buddies on EF Dawa and everybody else tell you. You should be researching everything.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for your advice, you know, because, you know, you're my teacher. I mean, the arrogance with what you guys talk is unbelievable.
It's the same for us, Jordan. I just said
honestly, you guys need to change your tone. Otherwise,
here's the hadith.
Your channel is going to stay completely dead.
Here's the hadith, Jordan. Let's read it together, shall we?
Go on.
There it is. Sahih Muslim, book 088.
We took captive some excellent Arab women.
I'm gonna butcher the names here, but I'm just gonna say these guys because
Can you show me the word rape?
Okay, so let's go through it. Can we infer that if you take, and we decided to have sexual intercourse with them, if you take captives and you decide to have sexual intercourse without their consent, what's that called, Jordan?
What are they? So these people they're not allowed to say no, right?
Correct. What is that called, Jordan?
I guess it's not rape in the sense that I know it, but let me go on, read the hadith.
Here it is on screen here.
This is the hadith.
Okay, go on.
So I'm just going to say this guy said to that guy, because I can't pronounce the names. Maybe you can. So there's some Arab names here. Abu said to this other Abu, Allah be pleased with him. Abu, did you hear Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, mentioning al-Zal? Again, I can't pronounce it. I apologize. Withdrawing the sexual organ before emission of semen to avoid conception. He said yes, and added, we went out with Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, on the expedition to this tribe, and took captive some excellent Arab women, and we desired them, for we were suffering from the absence of our wives, but at the same time we also desired ransom from them. So we decided to have sexual intercourse with them, but by observing but we said, Azul, thank you. We are doing an act whereas Allah's messenger is among him. Why not ask him? So they asked Allah's messenger, peace be upon him, and he said, it does not matter if you do not do it, for every soul that is born up to the day of resurrection will be born.
All right, so there's no mention of rape. There's no mention of rape in there.
They
do you want the word rape or what?
Well, it's saying they're having sexual intercourse with them, and then it says at
we
the end...
decided. The operative word here is we decided.
But I can, if I decide to I can decide to have sex with someone, but they can say no.
It doesn't say here that they can say no.
Where's the rape in this? Where's the rape in this hadith?
They are captives.
This kind of backfired a bit, hasn't it?
No, it hasn't. It shows
Listen
your level of.
I thought you were going to show, where they had no choice and we took them and we raped them.
That's exactly what it says there.
All right.
Okay, yeah. We took some excellent Arab women, so it's not referring to them as kind of slags or whatever.
We took captive some excellent Arab women.
Yes.
We decided to have sexual intercourse with them,
and we know that the captives of war and things like that. The women were taken, and they weren't just left there.
Okay, Jordan, that's irrelevant. But
yeah, of course it is. You don't want that point mentioned.
No, he's looking for a context now where it's okay to rape women.
Let's pay attention just to what you guys want to. Go on, go ahead, because there's no rape in this hadith.
When you decide to have sexual intercourse with somebody without their consent, is that rape or not, Jordan?
Yeah, that's right.
Great. That's what it says there, Jordan. Does it need the word rape? Or when they say they decided to have sexual intercourse, and in fact, when they wanted to, it's highlighted. Can you see on the screen there? We decided to have sexual intercourse with them.
So Rob, can you?
It doesn't say we are going to ask them if they want.
Rob, can you decide to have sex with your wife?
No.
Only if she gives it to me. Allows me.
No, but you can decide. You can decide to do it, but she can say no.
If I decide to do it, and she doesn't have a say in it, is that right?
Yes.
Correct. Now, these people were captives. They didn't have a say in it. These men decided to have intercourse. And when they asked Allah, should we withdraw before ejaculating inside, he said, it does not matter if you do or not, every soul is born. In fact, he said you could do it or not do it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it doesn't.
He condoned the fact that they were able to do this.
So that even the men don't have to. They don't have to take the women. Yeah, that's what the last bit's saying.
No, it says you can enjoy your orgasm without pulling out.
That's the first bit.
No, that's
it's at the end. It's at the end there, Jordan.
Withdrawing the
messenger about should they withdraw. And he
Rob,
said
this
it
is
does
pretty
not
useless,
matter
really. I mean, this is so disingenuous.
You
This
too.
is so hypocritical.
All I can say is I understand why your channel's dead, and I mean that. I mean that well. I hope you guys improve.
I appreciate you saying that, Jordan. It's because we bring the arguments that people don't have a response to. So of course they bring up every other response, Islamophobe,
really
this, that, and the other thing, instead of challenging this.
You bought a rapist quote, didn't you?
At least you coming here to face this head on, but actually face a genuine shit, Jordan, please.
All right.
Jordan, this was really embarrassing, really. I don't know why you're doing this, really. Look, I mean, I think you are better than this. I think you can do better than this.
Why even just change your photo like that? It's just like you're just, I don't know, gutter. You're like gutter behavior. There's no.
Jordan, this isn't a response.
You guys aren't. You're not like gentlemen. You're not. I don't know. Just pure gutter.
We hear this a lot, right? This is just sophistry. Just deal with the arguments. We hear this from Muslims all the time.
I've jumped on your show. I've jumped on your show because you guys.
They haven't got an argument against us.
You guys have been saying he's running from us. He's scared to come on. And when has that ever been the case? Well, why would I be running from StopS, for example? Other than the fact that he's pretty vile, and I don't really want to waste my time. I don't. You know, this is
because
so that's
he
why
knows more about the Quran and you.
And look, we
probably the
to be honest, that
because
may
he
be
brings
the case,
strong
Rob.
arguments.
Rob,
maybe he doesn't do it in a way that tickles your sensibilities.
You know what?
But you use that as an excuse not to.
Rob, are you offended? Rob, are you offended? Control yourself. You're raising your voice. Control yourself.
Oh my God!
Nice Rob definitely offended.
Nice. Jordan, come on.
Rob is definitely offended, and I'd love to leave on that note that Rob has been offended.
I'm trying to get through to you, but apparently this is very difficult.
Because Rob, just wait a minute. Rob, Jordan, are you able to have a civilized discussion about something?
So, coming from two people that want to live in a society where we can all round.
No. Forget about all that. I'm asking you a straight question now, regardless of what has happened so far. Are you able to do that?
StopS. I believe it or not, I believe I'm fairly reasonable, and I understand why people. I understand why people have issues with Islam because I used to have them myself. Now, your first comment to me in this chat was, "Why don't you go around raping and beheading people then?" And you're telling me that you're civilized. Now, I know what you're going to say now. Well, that's what he did. But to be honest, there is a way to speak to people and dialogue, and you're a gutter dweller. That's all I can say about you.
Okay, have you answered my question? I've just asked you.
I don't have to. Look, is there anything that says I have to answer your questions?
No, I've just asked you whether you are capable of having a civilized...
I'm exercising my free speech to say what I want.
Are you able to have a civilized discussion about something?
Yes.
I think
okay.
What are you?
Well, this is what I'm just trying to propose.
Let's look at your civilized discussion, laughing at people, bringing up extremes. I mean, I reckon me and Rob could have a decent discussion. And Rob, we may disagree, but I'm happy to have chats with you. But even you must say this StopS guy is a weirdo.
Just because I don't say things the way that you like them. But this is besides the point. I'm asking you a straight question. You said yes, you can have. Or did you say, I can't remember, because you always answer questions with a question. Did you say, yes, you are capable of having a civilized discussion?
Rob, can you tell him what I said? Because I did say it pretty clearly.
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm not perfect. I'm not a god. Can you?
You're not perfect, but I thought you were turning into this non-offensive being. I can have a
okay, super. Jordan, would you be, can I ask a question? Would you be prepared to have a discussion on the reasons why you believe what you believe?
Not with you.
Not
happy
with me.
and I'm not. I have to go now, but I'm happy.
I understand that.
I'm happy to speak to Rob again. But for you, StopS. And to be honest, I know it sounds like I'm being offensive, and I don't mean to be, but you're below the kind of.
You can't offend me.
No,
I'm asking whether you. Okay, I'm asking whether you would. I'm asking.
Kind of, you're not respectful. You're not civilized. I'm happy to speak to anyone.
Respect is earned, not demanded.
Rob
would you be prepared to do that, Jordan? Would you be prepared to do? Would you be prepared to do that?
Who are you to demand?
I'm asking whether you would be prepared to do that.
You've been around 10 years, you say, and you've got like 20 subscribers. So you're clearly not someone that I should definitely come on.
We can talk about the reasons for that, but this is not the reason. I'm asking you whether you would be prepared to have a civilized discussion with Rob about the reasons why you believe what you believe.
Yeah, I would.
Great. Rob, take it from there.
Okay, I think he said he had to go now. Maybe we'll do it again, Jordan.
Rob, Rob.
That's what I want. Take it up. Just set it up. He said he would be. Yes, he would. We'll set it up.
Okay, well, when are you available, Jordan?
I will. Have I got your email address?
I'll pop it in.
At the moment, I'm doing literally. I'm literally doing daily streams at the moment on EF Hour and other channels, but.
Let me pop it in the private chat at the back here, and just see if you can pick that. Are you on your phone or on your computer?
I'm on my computer.
Okay, just pick up you can see on the side of your private chat. I've just given
you
I
got it.
email. Send me an email and we'll have that discussion.
Cool.
Jordan, I think the one thing, let's say this in passing, and thank you for coming on the show.
Sure.
Look, StopS has got a different way of doing things, but I think, that he has information, and I think the concern that you are raising, and Hamza and other people, to my view, if you've got overwhelming evidence that Islam is true, you can point out how people are bad, like Apostate Prophet or StopS or whatever the case is. But if you have substantive good arguments and reasons, that's the part that I and anybody else that's thinking critically will be paying attention to. The rest is all noise that's going on. And to my ear, at least, it doesn't sound particularly strong to say, oh, well, you're gutter dwelling, you're this, you're that, whatever, because presumably there's a fact of the matter, and that's the part that at least some of us care about, not the sophistry about he's an idiot or he's a gutter dweller or whatever. And maybe StopS, and even I sometimes might say that, but what we're really interested in is the discussion. And because he knows more about it than probably most of EF Dawa, I think and then they're bringing up reasons not to do it because he doesn't have perhaps my way of saying something. And I don't think that's a strong way to do it, because the Muslims are looking for you guys to demolish us.
Rob,
that's what it's all about.
Okay, Rob, I'm not part of any team. I am at EF Dawa and they've supported me. I'm not Muslims against atheists. I'm honestly, when I go to the park, for example, I like having conversations with people. I'm not Apostate Prophet and people like that, and I don't know, all these. That to me, that's all nonsense. And look, I'm not going to convince you Islam's true necessarily, but I can certainly give you my reasons. And what have I got? I've chosen Islam. My comments about StopS, Rob, when do you ever hear me saying this? I know you say it's sophistry, and I'm not using it as a tactic, but StopS genuinely is a gutter dweller. The way he talks, the way he's handled himself in this conversation is poor. And to be honest, I think, I know you seem to rate him, and you're probably the one giving him his confidence. But if I was you, I'd pull him up after this and, try and improve that.
Yeah, I mean, I could say the same to you about most of EF Dawa, perhaps not all of them, but at least some of them, right? We can all give each other unsolicited advice about things. I think, hopefully, Jordan, what we're really interested in is what is likely to be true, and have we got good reasons for that?
So give me an example where you've been disrespected by EF Dawa. When has Abbas disrespected you?
Well, that's why I said some people. I didn't say everybody. I said some people.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
Darren Hamza, for example, Sabur for another one, rinsed, schooled, this guy's an idiot, all this sort of stuff, the same sort of rhetoric you claim that StopS is saying.
Okay, so
same thing, right?
Hamza's called you an idiot.
Correct. And I've been schooled, I've been rinsed, he's clueless, all the rest of these things.
When did he call you an idiot? I don't believe that. Yeah, schooled and stuff like that. That's not offensive, is it? I schooled you. I'm sure you guys, when
he's an idiot, all the rest of those.
You guys will probably, when I go, will say, "Oh, we schooled him." We don't. I don't care about that rhetoric. But obviously, if I leave and you guys say,
"No, we don't do that. This is not our level. We are not children."
I've seen you guys reviewing streams. But anyway, yeah. So, but if Hamza's called you an idiot, then I would pull him up on that and say that's not good behaviour.
But Jordan, Hamza does this as an example because you're critiquing StopS. He does this all the time, right? When he's clueless on something, he jumps in with both feet.
I've never heard Hamza call anyone an idiot. Honestly, I've never heard it.
Okay, dude. I mean, I don't know if you're not paying attention or whatever. Do you want me to bring videos next time we have it?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Because I don't believe I've never seen it happen. I've never witnessed Hamza going around saying you're an idiot.
Do you, Jordan? Do you think Hamza is a civilized discussion?
I think Hamza has an aggressive way of speaking.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But I think Hamza does actually have the ability to admit when he's wrong. I think Hamza, he's very passionate and he's very strong in his beliefs. I have a different style to Hamza, clearly, and you know, my apologies if Hamza's offended you. But that's the way he debates, and I've never heard Sabor call you an idiot either.
Yes, well, he did. I don't know if he used the word idiot, but something similar to that.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't mind being an idiot if they can show me that I am an idiot in a particular topic, right? That I'm not concerned with. But your critique against StopS is that he's blunt, he's gutted to well. I'm saying that some of the Muslims do this as well, and it doesn't faze me, by the way, either, and it shouldn't faze you. That's what I'm talking about.
It doesn't.
We're listening for the substantive arguments.
Does it seem like StopS phases me at all? I'm not
he keeps suggesting that he's such a bad guy in the meta, in other words, the discussion he has, rather than just showing why he's wrong. And I have shown.
I have shown.
No, you have not.
Heard that.
I've pointed out why.
Hadith, Jordan,
I didn't just say gutter and didn't back it up. I explained exactly why I thought what I thought he did in this conversation. He was constantly laughing. He was like, "So you're going to behead people, rape people." This is not, you know, and I explained why. It's
emotional. I know you can't handle it.
I'm not emotional, StopS. I'm not emotional.
Of course you are. That's all you're being. You have not brought a single rational, factual argument. It's all emotions.
Okay, Rob, whose voice is more emotive, mine or his there?
I am, because I'm mocking you.
Okay. See, anyway.
Jordan, if you behave like a rational human being, if you come across as somebody who has a point to make, I will go and treat you the same way. But you are not. You're behaving like a child who's throwing a temper tantrum, and you're saying, "Oh my God, he's so bad, he's the gutter, he's not using the right words, and he's too this and too this." Come on, there's nothing factual. Every time I ask you a question, you sidestep, you run somewhere else, and you're unable to bring anything to the table. I have to ask you 5-6 times before I get a straight answer out of you. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? If you behave like that, I am going to treat you exactly like that. If you come across here as somebody who's honest, who's straight, who gives me a straight answer, I don't care if you criticize me. I don't care if you prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, it's great. I've learned something. But don't come to me and every time I ask a question, you sidestep and you're unable to come across with something. That is how it works. And that is why I am also getting emotional, because I get pissed off with things like that.
You both sound offended by the end of this conversation, which is lovely. I guess
you see, this is silly. Now to try and bring in offended, we are offended. No, we're not offended.
You've made the point to me, because simply by me being a Muslim, in your mind, makes me irrational. So you've just said to me, why don't you just come on, be rational? Well, of course, you don't see me. You've got a real issue with Muslims and Islam and the belief. So so you're not going to see me that way, are you? Whereas for me, I don't mind an atheist, Christian. I honestly don't mind what people believe.
I have Muslim friends I hang out with. They are rational, normal people. They don't act the same way as you do.
Well, you've got Muslim friends. Do they behead people?
No, but they also don't tell me that they follow the example of Muhammad.
And they're Muslims?
Yes.
Interesting. What was James S.C.'s point? Because he's quite emotional as well. What was his point he made?
I think James is always on point with the facts, and again, he's labelled as Islamophobe because he's read more on the tertiary and secondary topics than many Muslims. Brings arguments. He used to be a lot softer. He's now become a lot stronger because people like Hamza and other people try to steamroll him. So we did a review with James speaking to Hamza.
You can't put James Speaker's Corner on the If Hours level. And if I've heard James Speaker's Corner online shouting out F Aisha, she got effed, she got it, and he's similar. He's got that ability to lose his control and go into complete child mode. Yeah, and agreed. He comes with a folder of Hadith and stuff like that. And I've got an issue with James. I've got an issue with James, but don't put him on that pedestal.
Jordan, we did a review of James speaking to Hamza and Imran the very first time when he brought the inheritance error, which is, in my view, still irrefutable. He brought that. There were two parts to that. If you go again, I know you won't watch. Maybe you will. I won't insult you in the sense.
I didn't see that. I saw his one with Mohammed Hijab. I didn't see the one on that.
No, we've done a review of it on Speaker's Corner. You may or may not watch it. I mean, maybe you're open-minded enough. But what we did a review there. That was the very first time James ever spoke to Hamza, and Imran was standing there next to him. If you go and watch that, and if you are somebody who can think about it, you don't have to tell me or anybody else. You can see how Hamza tried to steamroll him. At that stage, James was a lot more sort of, passive in a sense. He wanted to bring this error. He wasn't able to do it in 35 odd minutes. Eventually, he brought the error in the inheritance. And instead of somebody, you might go, do you know what, Rob? I've not heard of that. Let me go look that up. Do you know what the response was? Hey, he's bringing you Rain Man stuff. We can't deal with this. Do you know what? He quickly Googled on the phone and said, he quickly Googled on his phone, Jordan. He said, hey, James, this has been answered. Have you spoken to Hijab? Have you spoken to, what is his name? Adnan Rashid. I was there the day that Adnan Rashid was there. It was so embarrassing, Jordan. If you watched that, potentially you'd be embarrassed. James stood and I was filming next to it. James stood on a platform and talked about the inheritance. Adnan Rashid's response, how many tafsirs have you read? How much this, how much that? Not once did he even engage. The same with Hamza, right? This is the problem we're having. People don't respond, and then they want to bring up and say, hey, James is a bad guy because he goes and does his homework on it. Now he's got a bit stronger because that's what he needs to do against some of these people.
You brought up one debate, and look, let's say you're right. Let's say James got the better on that debate. I'm telling you what I've seen of him online, and his language and how he's got the ability to. If you
have a discussion with him, Jordan, if you have a discussion with James, it'll be a cordial discussion because you can be a cordial guy. But when he's pushed by these other guys that try to steamroll him, he's now had enough of that, and I entirely back him. Some of these guys are not there for an intellectually honest conversation. They're propagandists. They want to steamroll people.
Let me ask you this, Rob.
When they don't know something.
See, I reckon, I could review a stream and actually be a lot more balanced than you two. Well, I have seen a couple of reviews, and there's literally no agreement to the Muslim on any points. It's literally the most biased reviews ever. So I think that's also something
you obviously missed the one where I actually said once that Hamza did a good thing. You obviously missed that.
No, I haven't seen that. But the ones I saw, particularly StopS, were just extremely laughing nonsense.
Jordan, we invited you on. We've got a 6-minute video. Yeah, maybe you have to go now. But actually, I wanted you, and when we devolved into this whole conversation, I wanted us to review this and for you to give a Muslim perspective. I don't know if you've still got time.
So you want me to say Hamza was wrong publicly or something?
No. What I want you to do is review it and give us your view and say,
I'll watch it.
Hey, guys,
I'll watch it. And I think
here is what I mean.
The only thing I've heard is that the thing is James has gone to the park and often had his questions answered and then gone to various different people. What's this one?
Jordan, when you claim that he's had his questions answered, what the response is not an adequate response. Hence, he's asking other Muslims. For one, Adnan Rashid didn't even respond to the inheritance error. At least Hijab tried in the park. That he didn't work. Then he went and sat in his car after he'd spoken to the scholars and gave a response, which in our view, and I could tell you why it doesn't work. At least Hijab tried to do it, but James and I and everybody else who's listened to that weren't satisfied. So he went to other Muslims. So to say people answered, they just uttered some things. At least Hijab made an attempt. Adnan didn't even do that. But we don't feel like and we've got reasons. We're not just saying, hey, because a Muslim said it, we don't accept it. We're saying, hey, here's why we don't accept it. Here's the reasons why we think Hijab is wrong. Adnan Rashid, we don't have to worry about. He didn't even give a response. So when you say they've answered it, they haven't actually answered it. One of them at least attempted, the other sidestepped it, as oftentimes they do in the park.
Okay.
So what is James supposed to do? Go, well, hey, I'm going to accept that sidestep and the insubstantial answer?
Fine. I don't feel as strongly about it as you do, but I'll take your word for it. How long is this video?
You can see it on screen here. It's about less than 6 minutes.
I've probably got like 10 minutes before then I definitely have to go.
All right, so we'll tell you. You just tell us. That's fine. I'm not somebody who says that you have to go. If you say you've got to go, you got to go. That's fine. all you have to do is say stop, stop, stop. What we do is we listen to it, and oftentimes we think the Muslim is wrong. And I've just actually, this guy, the atheist guy here, if you heard the very beginning of this, I said he overreached. He claimed that you have to have only physical things, and I was like, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. Okay, so there are times when I think maybe the atheist overstretches or whatever. Even I've made mistakes as well. But oftentimes we think the Muslim is more mistaken than the atheist. But if you think the opposite, then just say stop and give us and critique something, either what the atheist says or what the Muslim guy says.
Sure. So this is Imran Hussein, who's a good brother. I know him.
Yeah. So this is Imran from our era. I've never met this guy. I don't know who this is. This is some atheist guy. So when you have to go, just say you have to go. We'll run it now. Just
let me ask, if you selected this video, because obviously I'm presuming there's a sort of thing that the Muslim...
No, actually, you know what? This was given to me today in Discord because it was a short video. Somebody sent it to me and said, hey, why don't you do this one? Because we did one with Adam Saleh just before this, and it wasn't very long. So somebody sent this to me. I think I've seen it before. I don't remember it, but this wasn't like specifically selected. We normally select the longer streams. This one was just donated to us or given to us by somebody.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. You just say stop, or StopS will, or I'll stop it if we want to comment, and you say something. Or you respond to what we're saying. That's fine.
Go on.
What, have you done a DNA test? Have you done a DNA test?
Okay, now you're strong.
No, hold on. I'm asking you. I'm not straw man. I'm asking you.
I haven't done a DNA test.
But you don't find it necessary to do a DNA test right now because right now you don't believe in your own parents?
But no, because they take...
Okay, so you might not have caught this whole thing, and you've probably heard this many times.
I already know this argument, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think this is a good argument?
I think it proves that we accept things in life that without categorical proof. I assume that my mum is my mum through testimony and perhaps old photos, but how do I know really? And obviously there are certain things that we don't necessarily check, but a theist is obviously expected to provide ultimate proof rather than believing on of information or reasonings that you have.
Okay. But could you?
Good. So
it's a good argument, I think, from Imran.
So could you find out?
Yeah, he could, but I mean, DNA is what, 98%, but that's not the point. He hasn't bothered, so he accepted it.
But do you have testimony? Do you have similarity in the faces? You have picked photos of you coming home. You have bringing up. You have childhood photos. You have all these things that sort of point in that direction. Do you accept that?
In that direction, and that's what we would say about.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah.
Okay, but I think there's a difference here, Jordan. Okay, but here's the concern. I have two concerns. One is that's if somebody said that, like you just said, what your mom, that's evidence, right? And you could even say, hey, I know that. And I would say, well, how do you know? You say, here's my justification. I see photos. Here's the similarities. Here's all the memories I've had from when I was able to remember at 3 years old. Here's the presents they've given me. You could give me all these reasons without a DNA test. And it's a red herring to say, hey, what we actually need is absolute knowledge. That's not, unless you can demonstrate otherwise, that's almost not possible for almost anything. There's very few things that you can claim absolute knowledge for. So
that's
it's a red herring to ask for absolute knowledge.
That's what you guys
can't do that either.
Yeah, but exactly. So that's the point, is that as people that believe in God, we take all of our reasonings that lead us to that belief, just as you do believing your mum's your mum. So
okay, but the difference here is that this guy has seen his mum, he's seen the photos, he's got the memories of this. You don't have the same, and moreover, you have a supernatural agent that you personally have never interacted with. So you're taking people's words for a supernatural claim. That's very different to a mundane claim, which is your parents. I think this is it's disanalogous because that God itself is supernatural. You don't have photos, you haven't hung out with God. All of the empirical things that this other guy is talking about, you don't have for God.
Yeah,
that's the point.
And that side of your argument,
this example is vacuous.
Yeah, that side of your argument, obviously proving there's a supernatural to you, it wouldn't be the same. I do get what you're saying, but I do think that this does prove that atheists will take on board stuff without the necessary proof that they expect for God.
Okay, well, what necessary proof do you think atheists need to accept their mum as their mum, which they wouldn't give for God?
No, but I would imagine, for example, for God, you guys maybe, let's say you're scientists, you want observable evidence perhaps of there being a God. We know obviously you're never going to get that. What was the other bit?
I mean, there could be other things. It's not just that. There could be other things, but I mean, a God could do that. You say never going to do it. How do you know?
I just did a stream on EF the Hour about the fine tuning argument, and to me, not believing in a creator from the fine-tune argument is irrational, because, you know, like I say, we had I think he was a professor on, and he was going on about the you guys probably know about the sheer numbers of, you know, the gravity and the electromagnetic.
Yes, yeah, I'm well aware.
Yes,
of
it's Sean Carroll, but don't go there.
All aware. So obviously, to not believe in any kind of creator before that, I would say was rational. But I would say, let's say that I could use that as a reason to deduce that there's a God, couldn't I?
Okay, but you could attempt to do that. I mean, there's plenty of responses against that. But regardless, the analogy being drawn here is that the atheist shouldn't accept his parents because he doesn't have empirical proof, and yet he does. He does.
No, he's not saying that.
He's got
Imran's
the
not saying that. Imran's not saying that. This guy, I guarantee the conversation was probably like, this guy was, well, I don't believe in God, where's your evidence? Imran is demonstrating that we believe some things without evidence. And that's fine. I think that's a fine point to make. And that obviously isn't.
It's horrible.
That doesn't. I'm not going to expect a shahada after this point, but that is certainly yeah. I think it's a fair point to make, and I would use that myself.
That's the worst thing that you can do. Well, how can you believe something without having any reason to do so?
What do you mean?
I think you used the word evidence, right? You don't have evidence. Well, why do you believe something without evidence? What convinces you? Because evidence could be whatever it is, but you said without evidence. So presumably, maybe you misspoke. And what you meant is without empirical evidence. Is that
sorry?
What
yes. Sorry, empirical evidence.
Okay. So so what evidence have you got? I'm not saying don't give me the specifics. Just give me the general things. Are you talking about like what eyewitness testimony, or what do you mean?
Well, I think eyewitness testimony doesn't guarantee that your mum's your mum, does it?
But nobody's asking for a guarantee. We're asking for probability. What's the most probable answer?
But exactly, that's what this whole thing is pointing out. That the probability of, I don't think Imran's saying your mum's not your mum. Imran is saying she probably is your mum, but there is a chance she's not. But you believe it 100%.
No, but he's not saying, and the atheist is not saying that they believe it 100%. Or if they are, they're mistaken in the sense that
do you not believe your mum is your mum, Rob? Do you not believe your mum is your mum?
I believe it with a high probability, not 100%. How could I do that? I'm a fallible human being.
Yeah,
but I've got good reasons for believing it, I think.
And that's good enough for me. Because I have used this argument that many atheists will say 100% that's my mum. 100%.
Okay, well, I would disagree with them. We can go down that route. I don't think that they could know with 100%.
I guess interesting what this guy says.
Yeah, but I think the bigger point is that the analogy fails because he's saying to him, well, hey, if you don't have 100%, then you can't know, and that's not true. Knowledge doesn't require epistemic certainty. If you're going to be an epistemic nihilist and say the only way I can have knowledge is if I can know something 100%, then you can't claim knowledge on almost anything apart from maybe that something is going on or that you exist or something undeniable potentially like that. But other than that would rule out knowledge. And most philosophers don't accept that, and they shouldn't. Because you can have knowledge and you could still be mistaken. And I accept that for you too. But he's making the point that the only way you can, well, presumably he's trying to make the point that the only way you can know something is with certainty. And I'm going to turn it around to you guys and say, can you know for certain even that Muhammad existed, never mind Allah? And you can't.
No, but I believe, and the thing is, but an atheist, and you may not be that atheist. You probably rejigged your arguments over the time. But an atheist may say, may need definitive proof, or you know, they might say that there is no God, and you need to provide us evidence. And like I said, that's why I think this argument, and I understand what you're saying as well. But I do think this argument opens the door to an atheist actually accepting that much of what they believe is an element of faith in it too.
Well, I wouldn't use the word faith. I mean, their belief might not be as well justified as they think.
You know,
that would be a better way to put it.
Isn't there? Like when you go and see the doctor, you assume that you don't ask him for his qualifications.
No, please don't use Hamza's arguments. They're really bad.
Well, it depends where it is. I mean, we have to take it in context. If I went to
Hamza invent that argument?
Well, I think it was Imran that brought that up, or whoever brought it up. Yeah, I think Hamza.
Yeah, okay.
But if I went to his office and I saw pictures of him, I saw photos of his qualifications in an actual medical institution, I'm likely to accept that he's a doctor, but now I've got evidence. If somebody else asks me, why did you accept that? I give them evidence. They go, okay. If I saw somebody in the street that I never knew and he said, hey, I'm a doctor, I want to operate on you now, I'm going to go, whoa. Most human beings are not doctors. What's the evidence that you are, right? And I'd be justified in being entirely skeptical. It depends on the context, doesn't it?
Sure.
One of them's got evidence, one of them doesn't.
Sure.
Same with everything else in life. And the other big thing, Jordan, before we move on here, is the size of the claim. If I say to you, I've got a dog in the backyard, you're likely to believe it. It's a mundane claim. Lots of people have dogs. You know, I could be lying, but there's a probability, probably better than 50%, that I've got a dog in the backyard. If I said to you, I've got an invisible dragon in the backyard, are you going to accept that?
No, I get what you're saying. I think T-Jump actually fell over on this point the other day. There's a guy that came on called T-Jump on EFT Hour.
Yes, I know him. Yeah.
And he was basically saying that he doesn't use anything unless he knows exactly how it works.
I think he misspoke there.
Hamza said, so what about your phone? He goes, yep, I know it. Well, he started going on about quantum mechanics.
Yeah, I think he overreached there, right? I think he overreached.
Yeah, he fell into that kind of, because he wanted to make the claim that, and this was going along this topic where, you know, I don't accept anything unless I've got proper knowledge. And I think that's along what Imran is saying.
Okay, but I mean, T-Jump, you know, I might not agree with everything he says, and somebody could disagree and show me where I'm wrong. I think he overreached there, and I even mentioned it, I think, in that stream when we were reviewing it. I said that's a line you don't want to go down, because now you're going to end up having to defend anything that you want to believe.
I can't use a washing machine because I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I mean, T-Jump isn't relevant to this thing, and so, you know, I think he overreached in that case. But I think you've acknowledged that there's a difference between a mundane claim and a supernatural claim. And so
yes, I accept that.
Both had the same sort of evidence. That's you need something more than that to justify your position.
And to be honest, Rob, I don't think this argument is ever used. I think this is a stepping stone that Imran will use. And I haven't seen the conversation, but it's a stepping stone that he will use once, you know, he's made the atheist think about perhaps you have faith in some of the stuff you believe in. Then I'm sure the conversation will move on.
Yeah, but I think it's a bad analogy. Okay, we're going to seem to disagree on that. Let's move on.
You
could still make the claim, but you don't need to use this poor analogy because it's flawed in my view. So you could still make the claim and get the atheist to go, hang on a moment, you know, how certain are you about X, Y, and Z, or what's your, you know, I'm sure you have beliefs that you don't have, you know, good justification for. But then the atheist, like I could turn around and say, well, hang on a moment, I would agree that there's probably things that I'm not justified on. But then again, you are making an extraordinary claim and I'm making mundane claims, which again, I could go and get the evidence for. You aren't able to speak to God or raise Muhammad or anything like that. So you're in a much more difficult position. You've got a much higher burden than I have to demonstrate your claims than I have for my mundane claims.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The thing that you need to take away from this is, if you have anyone who has ever given this some thought, this is a really, really bad argument to use, a bad tactic. If you're on this script, trash it. It's not good.
This is called being disingenuous. Of course you believe your parents are your parents. Bro, you know what? You're going around in circles.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, that your logic is circular.
No, I'm just trying to highlight to you now that empirical data is not the only way to truth. What I'm trying to tell you is that you believe your parents are your parents, not based on empirical data. It's not based on empirical data.
It's based on the previous.
I think it is based on empirical data. So how do you know your parents are your parents? You see them. Right, you've lived with them, you have the memories of them, you've got the photos. This is all empirical. What other data is this? You're not getting testimony or anything else. So what is he referring to, do you think, in this case where he's saying it's not empirical? To me, all of that is empirical. What about that is not empirical? For empirical,
Imran doesn't understand these things, Rob.
Abstract or a priori or something like that.
I think he's trying to demonstrate, isn't it, that the door is still open for it not to be. But it sounds like the guy is actually admitting that. And Imran is saying, no, you actually do believe your mum's your mum.
But do you agree that Imran... Well, okay, I won't ask you, do you agree? I think that Imran is wrong to say that what the guy gave is not empirical. It is empirical, unless you want to say that...
Would you not call them reasoning? Would you not call them reasons?
They're reasons based on empirical observations or data.
Yeah,
right?
Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
What we need to consider as well, that Imran doesn't really understand science, just like Subur and Hijab and all these guys. They don't understand anything scientific. Imran only associates empirical data with the Big Bang and things like that. He doesn't understand what it really is, and that the observation of similarity in the cheekbones or whatever feature, or the Habsburg lip or something, that this is empirical evidence. He doesn't understand that.
Okay, hopefully
what's it based on? Tell me.
One day.
Sorry, I cut you off there, Jordan.
Hopefully they'll understand science like StopS does one day. Hopefully we all will.
I doubt
would
it.
like to understand it better, sure.
Mohammed Hijab would, yeah, okay. Well, go on.
It's based on my idea that I believe them to be.
No, where did the idea come from? How did you develop the idea that your parents are your parents?
See, now you're deconstructing.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you, how did you develop the idea?
I presuppose. I just assumed.
Okay, I think he's wrong to say he's assumed. He actually gave the answer earlier on, right? He said, I've got the pictures, I live with them, blah, blah, blah. So I think, you know, maybe in the heat of the moment, that this is what happens in Speaker's Corner.
Yeah.
Right? If the same question is asked, and I've seen this both sides, both Muslims and atheists, when the same question is asked over and over, when the person has given a good reason in the beginning, then they sometimes say something else here. He's not presupposing his parents. There's reasons why, which he's given, right? He's not claiming that they're absolute, but he didn't presuppose his parents. I think he's misspeaking here because he gave the reasons earlier.
That is it is
No,
a presupposition.
no, it's based on the testimony of your parents. It's based on testimony. Yeah, it's not based on empirical data. Of course.
Okay, I mean, their parents might have said, "Hey, I'm your parents." Most parents don't say that, right? Anyway, but so I don't know what he means by testimony. But most of it is empirical, and he's saying it's not empirical. I vehemently disagree. Your sight about it, the memories, the photos, the presents they gave you, everybody else saying, hey, you know, Rob's mom and dad, or this, whoever the fellow is, their unknown atheist mom and dad. So there's lots of things that would say this, and
yeah,
you know, very
and that could all happen.
testimony.
That could all happen, even if this gentleman's mum was you know, had an affair. All of those evidences would still take place. So you know, there's no guarantee.
No, but Jordan, again, we're not asking for guarantees. As soon as you bring up the guarantee, it's a red herring, because I could ask you the same and you'd have to acknowledge that you can't do that. So bringing up the guarantee doesn't help either of us. You shoot yourself in the foot when you say,
no, I don't think so.
Have a guarantee.
I think the thing is, a religious person shouldn't say they can guarantee. A religious person, there's an element of faith. We have our reasons, and we have what we take as perhaps evidence. Whereas an atheist will often not accept that and say, well, I need definitive proof, otherwise I'm not going to believe. So
okay, well, I mean,
that's what. Yes, but I think that's generally a lot of the conversations that I have at Speaker's Corner. So
where atheists are saying to you, we need 100% proof. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
We need
or you say, you know, what?
I doubt
Okay, if I said, okay, Rob, what would it take for you to believe in God?
I could give you some reasons, but they wouldn't need to be. I wouldn't need 100% proof.
And what would many atheists? How would many atheists respond to that? Do you think?
Well, I don't know.
Me.
Everybody you'd have to ask atheists, right? I don't represent
many would say, well,
if they're wrong, if I think they're wrong, I'll point it out.
If I could observe him, if I could see him,
that would be good. I mean, that's obviously more convincing than some other forms of evidence, but it's not the only evidence. There could be other things, right? But I think empirical evidence is one of the strongest things. Let me put it this way, Jordan. I would never, currently, unless you could give me like an exceptional reason, I would never accept eyewitness testimony for any supernatural event. Never for a supernatural event. I don't care if 100,000 people saw it. I wouldn't accept it for a supernatural event. Natural or normal or mundane event, sure. But a supernatural event, the moon was split in half, or Muhammad flew on a winged horse, I would never accept that from eyewitness. And in fact, you don't accept some of them either. So in my view, it's a bit of cherry picking, because 500 people apparently saw Jesus resurrected. You guys don't accept that. That's eyewitness testimony from people that were there seeing him, that was recorded shortly afterwards or within a few years.
Sure, we've got obviously a book that says it didn't happen, but scientific method has said this Jordan just suggests that the guy's mum might have an affair, which means his mum's not his mum. What a moron. Well, what happens is, if you have an affair, it's possible that gentleman could end up being your father. And then it's
sure, that could always be the case, and maybe that's happened, not maybe, it's probably happened in human history. But the person was justified in believing he was their father until there was other evidence involved. So he could be wrong about it, but he would be justified in believing it because all the evidence pointed in that direction. And
actually,
you guys take the same view.
Actually completely messed up on that. It's I don't know if you spotted it. If your mum had an affair, she'd still be your mum. So scientific method got me on that one. Oops.
Okay. Yeah, she would of course still be your mum. Your dad might not be your dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, let's carry on.
Of course you can get a DNA test, no doubt, I agree. But you haven't got it yet. Right now you believe your parents are your parents, hopefully you do, based on testimony.
Yes, because I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Proving my point exactly, which is that you don't need empirical.
This is a very, 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 and this is the most important point. You don't have a DNA test yet, but you can. Yeah. And this is the point. This is the most important point. If you really want to, if you insist, you can verify or you can falsify. You are not able to do that with a God.
But the question is, why hasn't he? Because he's accepted.
That's not the question. The question that I'm saying is the most important point is that you can. I am saying the most important point is that you can. You cannot do that with a God.
And that's true.
Wow, okay. See, we agree on things. Great. We're making progress here.
Calm down.
Empirical data to believe.
No, I'm excited about it.
Empiricism is one route to knowledge, I agree. It's not the only route to knowledge. You've just proven that.
I've also told you.
Do you understand what you've done?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, good.
I also accept you. I presuppose that parents. Now that's a logically inconsistent point.
No, what do you mean presuppose, bro? Look, define. Because yeah, I know, but you're not presupposing. You're not just saying, "Oh, I believe these are my parents." Because I could just say, "I believe my neighbors are my parents." You don't do that. No, you don't do that, bro. You believe your parents are your parents based on testimony. You have good reasons to believe that. I'm not denying that. But
okay, so you said you have good reasons. I think the guy, I don't know. It sounds like the guy is misspeaking now because he did give reasons in the beginning. Now, for some reason, I'm not sure what his thinking was, and obviously we don't have him here to ask why he's suddenly thinking that he's presupposing the parents. So maybe he's thinking something, but I don't think that's the case. That he's presupposing. But Imran just said that he had good reasons, right? And presumably those reasons don't just include testimony. Because I see where he's trying to go. He's trying to go, hang on a moment, you believe your parents are your parents because of testimony. And do you know what, Mr. Atheist? We believe that Muhammad was the last prophet because of testimony. See, we both have testimony. Unfortunately, that line of reasoning is flawed, right? Because one is a supernatural claim and one is a mundane claim. So it's an equivocation between two different categories, natural or mundane and supernatural. You need more than that. I wouldn't accept testimonial evidence. Presumably you do only for these ones, Jordan. But I think that theists are inconsistent, right? Because if Christians think that Jesus got resurrected and you had some claim about some miracle claim where there was 500 people that witnessed Muhammad or some supernatural claim and the Christians don't accept that, then they're being inconsistent. Now both of you will say, no, but we've got good reasons not to accept those particular eyewitnesses, but we've got reasons to believe these. And when I watch that, I'm going, I'm not buying into that. Either you accept testimonial evidence or you don't. And if you really can show that only some testimonial evidence is fine for supernatural and others, I mean, good luck. Maybe that's possible. I've not seen that.
Sure. I'm going to have to get going now, Rob, but continue, obviously, right. And I'll be in touch.
All right, you've got my email.
Well, thanks for popping on.
Yeah, right. Thanks for coming on.
See you later.
There's my email, and then drop me an email. I don't have yours. You could pop yours in the private chat before you go if you like, and I can reach out to you if we've met each other, then we can reach out in that way. And you can ask.
I was just going to ask, but Jordan, are you going to contact Rob on this?
Well, I'm sure when I get back to the F Hour boys, they'll say, they'll give me the heads up on Rob. But look, I know Rob. I haven't got an issue with Rob.
I'll leave Rob. I don't need to be there. If you have a problem with me,
it's not to have a problem with you. I just have standards, I guess, with the sort of there's sort of discussions I want to be involved with.
Okay,
Jordan,
great.
I think the other thing for me is it's not about kind of making you look foolish or you making me look foolish. I care about the truth. If I think you're saying something that's wrong, I'm going to point that out. You can not accept it, and maybe the same thing goes for me. Again, that's what I have an issue with some of your Dawa guys, but that's a different story. They're not there for the truth. They're there to propagate the views and make other people look foolish, and then make it as if, because they've got egos. A lot of them people think that they are the best things since sliced cheese.
Yeah, but Rob, bought into that. I would, and I can't prove it, but I would put you in the same category. And look, I would be honest. I'm obviously biased as a Muslim. I'd hope if you showed me something that was completely true, then obviously I'd have to change my mind. But I don't believe that you are completely impartial. You're clearly leaning on the other side, and even the way you talk is about this team you've got. Whether it's James, Speaker's Corner, the others, you're clearly part of that. I don't think we're necessarily. I think if we're honest, we're both coming from opposite directions, but we can still have a conversation about it.
All right, I think let's leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Sorry, Jordan, just one point I'd like to make. Why is it that I have so few subscribers? I just want you to know. Whether you accept it or not is regardless. I've had thousands of subscribers. I had millions of views just on one video. But because of that, I was uncomfortable. And this is why people are constantly closing my channels down, because Muslims cannot handle it. So Muslims are constantly closing down my channels. This is why I always have to start from zero, and I'm not really that interested anymore, because I know they're going to get closed down. So after 10 years of having, I don't know how many channels closed, dozens, I'm not that interested anymore.
Look, you don't need to justify yourself to me, StopS.
It's not a justification, it's an explanation. Because for you it seems to be important that I'm small fry. Well, I'm not small fry, it's just that that zealous Muslims closed me down.
If I go on empirical evidence around me, I come onto the show. Interesting if you've got all these millions of people and you got closed and you're uncomfortable. But when I come on here, there's only 20 people watching. So did all these millions of people pass away, or?
No, I just explained it to you. My channels are constantly being closed down, and I have to start from zero. And you should know from experience that it takes a lot of time to build a new channel.
Why were your followers? Why are they not coming on the live streams?
Because we don't do this. I mean, not everybody is aware of who I do, because I have to change my name. I have to change the name of the channel. Not everybody is going to follow me all the time and every time, because they know that it's futile, because my channels are going to get shut down.
Okay. All right, I'll leave on this
I'm just explaining it to you since it seems important for you.
You're big fry. I'll leave on that note.
No.
Big up.
All right, thanks, Jordan.
This is so terrible. I don't know why these people are so hooked up on values and labels and things like that. I don't know why.
All right, let's move. Should we finish this off?
Yeah, okay, let's just move on.
But what I'm showing you is your reasons for believing your parents are your parents on empirical reasons. You can do DNA tests, but you don't believe in your parents right now based on a DNA test.
So then you're showing that it's irrational and there's nothing actually.
No, what I'm showing, if you listen to me, what I'm telling you, I'm highlighting, is there are many routes to knowledge. Empiricism is one of them. It's not the only way to truth. Therefore, hear me out. Yeah. Therefore, when you try asking for empirical data for God's existence, you are holding a flawed position. You don't need empirical data. First and foremost, God is beyond the physical.
Okay, here we get to a bit of an own goal here. You don't need empirical data for God's existence. Well, what convinces you? And if you're going to say eyewitness testimony, how reliable can you establish eyewitness testimony, given the fact that humans are fallible? We know about Chinese whispers. We know how difficult it is for people to be able to accurately relay information to others, especially when it wasn't even written down at the time. And if you're accepting that, okay, I've personally have a higher standard, especially like I say for supernatural claims. But then you can bring in the historicity, and I've asked StopS if he can do a little bit of that, because I've taken Muhammad to be a historical figure. Some of the stuff that StopS has shown me, I'm like, I'm not so sure anymore. I can be convinced, I'm open-minded on that, and I swayed towards him being a historical figure, but that might not even be the case. And so this whole thing of you don't need empirical evidence, well, what else do you need, right? And how can you demonstrate to me that it's better than empirical? I'm not saying empirical is the only thing, but what are you saying is the best thing, and what's better than empirical? And if you think empirical is the best, then isn't atheist not justified in asking for that, if that in fact is the best way to discover God? But if you're saying God is outside of this world, then you're essentially saying that God is undiscoverable. And if you're saying that, then how and why do you believe it? If he's interacted in this world in some way, then ideally there will be some empirical evidence, which I think is probably the strongest, or one of the strongest. So if we're asking for strong evidence, then that is certainly one of them, if not the strongest. Tell me what else is stronger, and then give me good reasons to believe that over empirical evidence.
You don't need empirical data. Do you believe China exists?
Yes, obviously.
Have you been China?
I have.
You have, okay. Do you believe that Africa exists?
Rob, just hang on, Ted. What Imran doesn't realize, again, he's shooting himself in the foot, because if he says China, he has just defined China into existence, because China is just some lines on a map. And if China wouldn't have any lines on the map, it wouldn't be China. So what he's doing is, okay, I'm defining China for you, and now do you believe that it exists? He doesn't even understand that this is quite silly.
And also, of course, we've got maps of this, the things have been written, but then he's going to say that's all testimonial evidence. And then my question is, okay, when is it not testimonial evidence? Because most of the things that we accept as likely to be true are testimonial evidence. So are you saying that none of that is empirical, that every time somebody tells you something, that is testimonial evidence? I mean, what do you accept as testimonial? The question for me to Imran is, how do you differentiate testimonial evidence from empirical evidence? And I wonder how he's going to do that. And why should I, Imran, accept that that is the correct criteria? As opposed to just your subjective criteria that you've brought up some ad hoc reasons to bolster your view that testimonial evidence is somehow such a wonderful thing, especially for supernatural claims.
Exactly, that is the point. Yeah.
Have you been to Africa?
Been to South Africa, yeah.
Okay, but have you been to the heart of Africa? No, but you believe it exists. Why do you believe it exists?
Because there's data, there's satellite
What's the
imagery,
data? Give me specific.
satellite imagery.
So how do you know the satellite image is actually the
Okay, so here we go, right? This is self-defeating. Because now he's saying, how do you know the satellite image, whatever? How do you know this? Oh, what I'm actually saying, Mr. Atheist, is that that's all testimonial evidence. But early on, he said there was empirical evidence. So what's empirical evidence? Only eyewitness things that you see yourself? Well, clearly that's not the only empirical evidence, is it? I mean, this is a very bad line of reasoning in my view. Again, to define your terms, and I have to agree with them, otherwise we don't go forward. If you've got good reasons, I'll be forced to agree with. If you don't, then I won't.
So the heart of Africa. How do you know someone has not just told you that?
See, now you're not being consistent because now you're saying
What I'm highlighting to you is that although you've seen a picture of the heart of Africa, someone is telling you that this is Central Africa. It's again testimony. It's not empirical data, bro.
It is. Are you saying maps are empirical data?
They are. They are maps. No, maps are physical things which you observe, but you believe they're a map of a particular thing based on the testimony of someone telling you.
Based upon the input data.
No, it's based on the testimony of someone telling you this is the map of this place.
Originally, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But since we've developed satellite imagery,
that's fine. That's fine. But it proves my point anyway, which is that there are many routes to knowledge.
Well, no, because.
Okay, so this whole thing is the claim that he wants to make is there's many routes to knowledge. Let's grant that. I actually believe there's more than just empirical. Anyway, and other people might not, right? If you're an empiricist, then obviously you're going to think that is, and you might have arguments in that favor, right? So what? I'm going to grant that, right? I often want to grant the Muslim apologist as much as possible to see if they can justify their point, because oftentimes they don't even really get off the ground. It's very hard for them to actually do that. And so sometimes I want to be super charitable, like, okay, let's agree. And in fact, let's agree that that testimonial is like amazingly good. How does that help you demonstrate that God exists, or that Muhammad was the messenger and he did the supernatural things? And then I didn't see
I just want to answer a quick question from the chat. If you start asking logical questions, every logical question that you ask will lead to a failure of Islam, will lead to a failure of the Quran. It's automatic. So the question that you're asking is a valid question. It makes a lot of sense, but you will not get an answer because it immediately disproves any claims regarding the God of Islam. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think because if you like you say, if you follow this through consistently, how do you know that person got it correct? How do you know that person? Oh, we've got a chain of narration. How can you trust that? Oh, because somebody. Well, how can you trust that guy said it to that guy to said it to that guy? You can play the same game with them, and you know, even if we got to Muhammad, right? And you say, how do you trust that he did this, that he got the messages from God, right? Nobody else was there. Now you don't have any other corroborating testimonial evidence. That's the weakest form. Somebody comes to you and says, hey, I witnessed or heard God speaking to me. How many people today would take that remotely seriously, right? Because that's how the whole religion got started. So if you're going to go with this whole thing, like StopS says, you're going to be self-defeated at the very get-go because your prophet heard some voices in a cave. Nobody was there. He didn't even know who was speaking to him. What normally happens in that case, we take those people for psychological evaluation, or if they're thinking critically, they go, hey, maybe this was my imagination.
Because
do you acknowledge that?
Hold on a second. Because you're using straw man right now. Satellite imagery.
Sorry, madam, I know you've been waiting.
But I'm going to leave here bringing Muslims.
Can I get someone else to speak to you about that question? Muslim, can you speak to this lady, please? She's got a question.
I've actually got to go. But hold, the last thing I'm going to say is,
but bro, do you acknowledge that there are other routes to knowledge?
No, sure. Prior to the existence of empirical data in the form of map making, through satellite imagery, through planes, through drones and stuff, yes, it was taking the opinion of someone else.
Bro,
however, now that we've been able to prove it with empirical data...
Hold on. Even today, let me give you a modern example, bro. Within the field of science, the empirical field, right? Most scientists base their current work, on the testimony of previous scientists. Do you acknowledge this? Do you understand this?
No, Rob, just a second. This is factually incorrect. It doesn't work like that. what you do is before you go and you cite another paper or something, or before you stand on the shoulder of another giant, you check what they are doing. And the thing is that every scientist in the morning gets up and tries to disprove what other people have said. So the fact that if more and more people have tried to disprove it and have failed, and yet there are other people who use this and who have confirmed this, because remember, there are theoretical scientists, there are theoretical physicists, for example, and there are practical ones. So they do the experiments. They go and repeat everything. And this is how it works. So you go on the data. You don't go on the testimony just because somebody says so. We have had instances of that. But thankfully, the scientific method has corrected itself. It has never been shown by a Muslim, by a Quran, by a Bible, or by the Torah that a scientist was wrong. It was always science itself that corrected a mistake.
Yeah.
No, it is. Bro, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Call it whatever you want. What I'm saying is that it's based on the testimony and the work of previous scientists. Testimony is an integral route to knowledge you can't dismiss. That's what I'm saying to you. Because you came with a presupposition that empiricism is the only way to truth. It's not. Do you acknowledge that?
I never said it's the only way to truth.
Okay, so fine. We agree then on that point, right? Now my point is then when it comes to God, why do you assume that there has to be only empirical? Why do you ask for empirical data when you acknowledge there's other routes to knowledge?
Why can't I?
I'll tell you why not. Because God is not a part of the physical universe. He's distinct and disjoint from the physical universe. He created the physical, not a part of the physical. Therefore, you can't physically improve it.
Okay, that's terrible.
He's just shooting himself again.
That's utterly mistaken. Because what you are actually saying is that he's undiscoverable in that sense. And all we have to ask is, did he speak to Muhammad? Was the Quran something that happened here? Did these miracles that you claim happened? Those are all things that happen in this universe and are in principle detectable in some way. So either you're not, if you're going to claim that he's undetectable, well, then how can you believe it? Then you have to put into question your entire Quran. This is like really terrible.
Rob, then somebody like Jordan comes and says, you are now assuming that everybody who believes this is a little bit backward. Yeah, but hang on, if I see arguments like this, if I see apologists who come with arguments like that, what am I to assume if they say, well, I am a showcase of Islam and I am the one who knows Islam and I am defending Islam, I'm propagating Islam, and then he does things like that. What am I to believe? What am I to assume about Islam and the followers of Islam other than, yeah, they are backward? It's only when I get the chance. Now, not many people have the chance that I have had to go and live amongst the people and go and understand, no, not everybody is like this, and there are a lot of really, really great guys and girls and everybody. Not everybody has that chance. So if they see now this Imran Hussein who is doing these things, they will say, yeah, these guys are totally backward. That's exactly what you are propagating. And this is why it's very important that these guys bring facts and not this nonsense. These scripts need to be trashed.
Empirically prove or disprove God's existence. Simple.
So then why believe it?
So I can give you other reasons now, because you're open now to the understanding there's other routes to knowledge. Would you like other reasons?
Not right now, because I actually have to go.
You have to go? Okay, maybe when you're here next time we can have that.
That's a shame. I mean, I think my response there would have been, give me your best reason that's not empirical.
Exactly.
And then we'll see whether it is in fact in some way empirical or not, right? So yeah, it's a shame that let's just.
Have you read the Quran?
I have not.
Okay, would you do me a favor? Read some of the Quran.
Read the total book,
next
the complete book. Read everything. Read the entire book, every single word, and best of all, read it from the back so that you don't go and jump to conclusions, but you read it from the back so that you make sure that you actually read every sentence.
Read the 112th chapter, if anything, just the 112th chapter.
Next time.
And then we'll discuss it. But at least can we conclude on this point so we can carry on the discussion? You agree there's other routes to knowledge other than empiricism, yeah? And that we as human beings are rational enough to have a discussion. And you still...
Okay, that's a bit trivial. That we are rational to have a discussion. Well, obviously, until you demonstrate it to be irrational, i.e. that you produce contradictions or some other logical inconsistency, that's kind of a low bar, right? So, yeah.
Capable of being
I want an answer from you next time as to how you account for rational faculties on your worldview.
I can't.
Maybe next time, when you come back next time, you can come with something. Yeah? Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of the video there.
Oh boy.
There we go, right? He's tried that one before. You account for your so again, the question is, what is an account? What do you accept as an account? I presuppose my rational faculties. If you say, can you prove them? Well, I'd have to use them in order to prove them, which would be circular. So it's axiomatic. It's a view of foundationalism, as they call it, which is a well accepted philosophical point. But he has to do the same. So he's in the same boat. So for two things for me. One, it's self-defeating, because he's going to do the same. He's going to say, no, but God gave it to me. I said, well, how did you establish that? You had to use your rational faculties to demonstrate that. So you're in the same boat. If you didn't have rational faculties, you could never demonstrate that God had given them to you. So you need to use them in order to tell me that God did it. So what's the point of that? So your account is similar to mine, but it's worse because you're claiming an extra step, which is not just that you're presupposing it until demonstrated otherwise. You're presupposing that some supernatural entity, which you can't actually demonstrate, has given it to you. And so your position is a lot worse than mine.
Yeah,
but okay, so that was an interesting discussion. We're not a lot longer than we thought, so I'm glad Jordan came on at least.
Yes.
And yeah, it was interesting.
And I have to congratulate. I have to like really say kudos, because he did this. Because I know that people are not really supposed to associate with us. So I'm very happy that he came on. It's a pity that he thinks that I am a complete idiot. But okay, I'm fine with that. I don't care. But I appreciate that he did, and they had the guts to do so. This is a lot more than most of the other EF Dawa, SC Dawa, blah, blah, blah Dawa people are able to do.
Yeah, I think the other people feel like they have more to lose. Not that Jordan lost necessarily, but I think Jordan is, if he had like 500,000, they were telling him he was the best thing since sliced cheese, he might be, and again, maybe I'm characterizing him falsely or whatever, but I think the more you sort of get lifted on a pedestal by your fellow Muslims, the less likely you are to want to do this in case the pedestal is shunted out of the way and you come sort of crashing down.
Correct,
So
it's not a win-win.
That's probably why the rest of the FDAWA don't want to do that either with you, maybe they will with me, or for example with James, right? Because the both of you know more about Islam per se than I do, certainly in certain of the areas, and that's probably more of a concern for them than anything else. So there we go. But yeah, it's good that he came on. Hopefully he and I can have a discussion. I'm sure we can have a reasonable discussion at some point, and I don't mind answering his questions. He can ask me why I'm X, Y, and Z, and we could talk about the fine tuning and all the rest of it. We're both laymen. Neither of us are experts, as far as I can tell, at least on any particular subject. So it'll be you guys having a conversation.
Oh, look at this! Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on, and hopefully there's been some value in there. And yeah, we will sort of try and keep doing it and do the best we can, and learn new things as we go along. So there we go. Again, thank you so much, StopS. Thank you to everybody that was on here. Hopefully it was of interest. It's nice to have somebody on who can respond back to us. Like we say, we don't get that very often. We do have Smart Cat that comes on the Gin and Tonic, so we appreciate that as well. And that's the sort of thing that we want to have. Because ultimately, I think on both sides of the fence, we both believe that we have what is true or likely to be true. And we also infer, and I'm going to be honest about it, and everybody else does as well, and I don't think people can escape this, right? That if other people are rational, they should be convinced by good reasons. And if we have those people would agree with us. Now, if we don't have good reasons, that's fine. But I think that's what discussions are. And anybody that says, well, I don't want you to believe what I believe, like Darren Hamza said, just hasn't thought about it. Let's be charitable. Just hasn't thought more deeply on that view. And so I think on that note, thank you so much. Quite unified theory.
Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you very much for your interest, and thank you for the spirited conversations that you've had. It was a pleasure watching it.
And if you guys want to continue on with a little bit more of a chat, at least for a little while, I'll just give you the Discord link again. We pop onto Discord. We're in there a little bit more often now. Certainly some of the other guys who are excellent. Whoops, let me just post that here in the...
Oh, I was just going to do that. Okay, you do it, yeah.
Oh, you've done it. Okay, cool.
No, I was just going...
So there's the Discord link. We'll post, and StopS is putting the banner on there. There's the link. Click on that. Come join us on the server. Come have a conversation.
And much more important is this one.
If you give us a thumbs up as well, if you
Or a thumbs
even if
down,
you don't agree with
equally.
us, but you want to hear a different point of view, then that's fine. You may not agree with us. Hopefully, we're trying to give reasons. You may very well disagree with the reasons. What I don't want to do is give dishonest or intellectually disingenuous tactics. If I don't know something or I don't have a good answer, I'm going to say this. But I think we need to argue in good faith, to use the word in relation to a discussion, and we'll do the best we can. And that's what I'm encouraging our interlocutors to do. I don't see that often enough, and in our past reviews, and even in this one, we see certain things, and this one more so, we just thought that he didn't have good arguments, etc. But in the past ones, I think we've shown where there's been tactics that have been used, and I think those are the things we need to be acutely aware of and point out, because that's not intellectually honest. So
And if anybody doesn't know how to operate Discord, just let us know. It's a little bit confusing in the beginning, so if you don't know, just let us know and we'll explain it in detail.
We might pop over there now. So thank you again to StopS. Thank you for all the viewers, and we'll be back next time whenever we're available. Thank you.
Cheers,
and
guys.
good
Bye-bye.
night.